And tonight, some really intense Doctor Who debate that will get you behind the sofa as we go live with the Sense channel.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. This is going to be a fun, tasty, delicious debate. Remember, on our channel, we debate. No echo chamber in sight. I get a range of panelists and a range of views, and I think that's what everybody deserves. So welcome to you all tonight. I think there will be some tasty debate. We'll be covering Doctor Who from 63 to the present day. We cover the gamut, noting and logging the trials and tribulations we all experienced along the way. We like to mix the passion, the nostalgia, and of course, we know the debate. We encourage differences of opinion. We encourage questions. We encourage an open mind. So stick with us, and I think you'll find it quite tasty tonight. So on Wednesday, we had the Bigenerates. You'll find that we had the Doctor Who Detox on Friday. Plenty of tasty stuff there. That was the week that was woke with Rachael. She's on in a minute. That's an interesting one on cancel culture and the agendas nowadays. Talking TV back is tomorrow, live at 1 o'clock. So if you enjoyed our first two, we get nostalgic about TV and compare to the present day. So Talking TV live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Of course, please subscribe or check you have subscribed. Give us a like. Spread the word. That's all I can ask. Thank you very much. And if you want to be a panelist, if you want to come on, if you want to give us feedback, you can get me on sensethesphere@gmail.com, or you can get me obviously on I've forgotten what I'm on now, X. So here we go. Now it's a tasty one tonight, like I said, and I'm going to get on with it. No waffle from me tonight. So of course I need panelists. I need people to talk about this, and of course one of those people I am inviting on. Let's have a look. Trying to see why it's doing that. Let's have a look. There's always a bit of technicalities. Hiya, Jeremy. Good to see you.
Hello. Right?
What's he reading this week? Let's have a look.
Monsieur.
Oh my
Monsieur
God.
Brindon. It's French.
Yeah.
It's the title.
Oh, I'm not good with French. I'd have to be the Marceaux.
Well, there's cavemen on the front here.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Well, you can see he's the real deal. He's our canine expert and everything there as well. You'll see his cyber. Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
Child.
I'm also going to get on. Let's have a look. We've got Ryan up there just near Belfast. Ryan, you can't hear. Well, I can't hear you at the moment. So go off and come back on. It tends to do that. Don't worry. You come back on and it will work. I promise you.
The Daleks have captured him.
It's one of those things. So we'll invite Rachael. Rachael, what have you been? Yeah, everybody's reading on our channel.
I am reading. Yes, I thought. Well, I'd take an inspirational leaf out of Jeremy's book and read a book.
Oh! I wonder if we can tempt her with some tasty morsels tonight.
This one's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As Doctor Who fans, yeah. It's a
fun this one.
What's that called?
Oh.
I haven't seen it. What's the what?
What's the tea?
What's the tea?
Hello, chat.
For tea time, Doctor Who. That's what the tea's for.
Yeah.
What's the tea for like?
Well, Ryan, I'm sure we'll get back. He was talking to us earlier, and I don't know why the volume suddenly didn't go there. But we will get on with our debate because the people have turned up, and they've turned up in their numbers to say hello. And I think they do want us to talk about. I mean, I asked just a simple question like an English teacher used to. Is Doctor Who a write-off? Of course, speech marks. Because we will talk about the writers tonight in different ways. But of course, we are Doctor Who fans, and we don't just start that kind of intense. Well, look at that. Bill Logopoulos, Janet Fielding sat with the Watcher. Look at that.
Is she holding a cigarette, or was she holding a cigarette at the time?
Almost. I think they're just impersonating each other, I think.
All right.
But yeah, I know. I don't know. You like a bit of that.
Never seen that photo.
No, I'm always digging around. And if anybody's got any, please do send them. Now, Ryan, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. That was a great way to start. Well done.
It was. You had the shortest intro to our channel ever, and then you'd never be seen again. But anyway, good to see you, Ryan. And I'll introduce you as we go, just to kind of, I'll get the fluency going. But Ryan's on our panel tonight. Did you see this colorized from Tinted Who? The Keys of Marinus. Look at that. I mean, sometimes, you know me, I'm a glutton for this, but hey. Jeremy, you were mentioning the Keys of Marinus to me earlier today, but...
That's right,
Yeah. I can see the drape at the back, though. I can see the creases in the drape. That's
That's the only thing that it pulls out, isn't it? Sometimes.
yeah. And there are limitations to colorization. I do understand, but there you go. A bit of Keys and Marinus. I said we go all the way back to 63, 64 through, and of course, just so you enjoy, here's two more tasty bits. Enemy of the World. Look at that outfit. My God, would you walk down the street like that? Yes, you do.
Suits him. I mean, Patrick Troughton. I mean,
is that the future? Is that what we all have to wear?
I think there were a lot of new fashions coming in the 1960s, 67.
I still like the metallic orbs in the background as if it's Daleks. That's what I like. In fact, yeah, that's
Patrick Troughton's very good in that story.
Yes, well, brilliant. Yeah.
Well, look at that salamander. Look at that outfit. So, yes, since I had a colorization, I had to show the colorization there. But there you go. Right, let's have a look. Here's a question for you and the panel and the thread. Because can everybody please? You've only got 3 slides here, I think it is, to tell me which product has been advertised here. So here we go. There's the Dalek saying, "We love you." That's in the dialogue. "We love you." I'll go a bit bigger. So what is this advertising? It has an awful lot. The Daleks are first. There we go. "Give us a cuddle," the Dalek says to a granny. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is pre-millennial, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Kit Kat chocolate bar.
Ah, yes. And you've said it. Sadako said it. This was advertising Kit Kat.
Okay.
Yeah. It had lots of people doing something that they don't normally do. They're doing the opposite. So Daleks asking for a cuddle and asking for love was the opposite. Give us a break for a second. We just want a break. Stop being nasty, Daleks. We want to feel love. So there you go. There's the Daleks in an advert way back.
Watch out. They'll make that canon next.
Well, no. How far? I mean, Ryan, would you like to see the Daleks having an emotional trauma in season 2?
No, I just actually want to see them be scary again and kill a lot of people.
You're very demanding, Ryan. I don't think it'll catch on.
I know, God forbid, like the Daleks actually win for a change, but that would be nice to see.
Yeah. Yes, I don't want. We all talk about that Dalek episode with Rose and Chris Eccleston, but I didn't like the fingerprint genetic thing on the Dalek, and then suddenly it has a trauma. That's where I think we had a problem. It was an interesting story, but please don't ever do it again.
They took that directly from Jubilee.
Yes.
So that happens in Jubilee as well, if I remember correctly. I haven't listened to that for a while.
Yeah. And when we talk about the writers tonight, we might say, well, since we're picking Juno, Dawson, and NUWHO and other people, Rob Sheeman by any chance? There are other writers out there. So as I take us through this kind of potpourri of material, I think we'll just for a second, folks, before we really go laying into this, season 2 gossip, see if there's anything by any chance out there.
100, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92, 91.
Yes, season 2 gossip. Well, there's only a few little tidbits because our show tonight is about the bigger picture. But on the Doctor Who tweet, a companion who really doesn't want to be there. New Doctor Who's coming soon. Are you ready for this? A companion who doesn't want to be there. That sounds like Turlo or Adric stowing away. It's like,
Or Tegan.
Tegan, yeah.
Yes, Tegan. Oh,
Donna, when she first appeared.
Yeah. Do we really need to just get in the TARDIS and help the Doctor out, will you? And get into peril and have a problem and fall down a lift shaft. Just,
Do your job.
Yeah, do your job. You're a companion, for God's sake, But stop moaning and saying, where's my mum? Where's my dad? And I miss Sutek.
Woof, woof.
I suppose where there's conflict, then there's conversation. So I suppose that's the reason why they're probably thinking about that.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan, we haven't established your credentials yet, but basically, are you really looking forward to season 2 and this sort of palaver?
Oh, I really cannot wait for season 2. I think it's going to be one of the most anticipated and exciting series of Doctor Who ever made. It's what would say.
You've had a drink, haven't you? You've had a drink.
I have never been less excited for a Doctor Who anything in my entire life. To be quite honest, I like last season. I give it a shot. I was like, you know what? Everybody deserves a shot. But I don't think I've ever watched an era of the show that has felt more like anything else, but not Doctor Who. Like, I will even give Jodie Whittaker's era for a crack of the whip. That if you sit down and watch it, you can go, okay, yeah, it might not be great. The writing might be horrendous, but it's still very much the same show.
Yeah.
Where this new Rtd era, it doesn't feel like the same show for me anymore. But yet again, I've come to accept that it's not made for me. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. Isn't it funny? It doesn't feel as though it's made for Doctor Who fans. What a strange concept. Now here, a companion who really doesn't want to be there. To me, I want a Doctor who wants to be there. Can we just establish the Doctor first? Now, Michael Q in the thread said it'll be Susan. I tell you what, we need Susan payoff. I mean, Jeremy, if you had to put money on this, I know you'll manage to sleep at night. But what do you think? Do you think this is going to be anybody in particular? Or?
I haven't got a clue as to who it could be, but maybe they're just trying a different tactic, and hopefully they'll think it might work. You never know.
Yeah, as Rachael, go on, Rachael.
Yeah, that comment, Belinda.
Yeah,
the new companion,
Belinda Chandra.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want to be there. Oh, how modern.
Well, if she doesn't want to be there, the Doctor can just drop her off at any time he wants.
Oh yeah, just drop it. Jettison her. Zero. Well, we've got a zero room there. You jettison the zero room. Just get out of it. Owen says here, the cartoon man you saw, his voice is an old friend of the show. I mean, is this getting you excited before we go into the other material?
Out of all the trailers that I saw, I mean, out of everything that I've seen in the trailer, because I don't know how many trailers I've seen, this is probably the most intriguing bit that I've actually seen.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I'm interested in it technically. I'm interested in the concept of it,
But it's nothing new. This is something that Disney is also very good at. Bringing the animated like this, the 2D animation into the story. Mary Poppins is a good example of that. A certain one that's been banned is a good example of that as well. I won't mention it in here. Don't want to get you sort of like suppressed.
Yeah, it's like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah. So, you know, but I'm intrigued. That says, to me, that screams toy maker, but
Yeah.
celestial toy maker.
The daft thing is, when RTD and people do that, you think, oh, we've only got 61 years of every voice possible. Yeah, I'm not even going to start. Why would I? Okay then. Well, because we are a debate channel, and I'm hopefully you've all found us tonight because we debate stuff. We don't just kind of do our predestined positions that have been practiced every week, saying the same opinion every week. I don't know what Rachel's going to say, Ryan's going to say, or Jeremy's going to say about a multitude of things, and I like it that way. To be honest, I don't know what I'm going to say half the time on some of my opinions. So we're going to do a mini debate, and I call it the Vox Pops in the Vortex. So get ready. This is when we'll start debating straight away, panel and thread. We're going. Well, I don't mind that when it's a time eddy as well. I like a time eddy, but it should be Vox Pops in the Vortex. Now, here's the first one. Right, here we go. So this is from Luke. Bring back the 13 episodes. If it means we don't always get the show at the same time every year, so be it. The reduced episode count is having an impact on character development. Also, once my era as showrunner has settled, we start to work on spin-offs and various other stuff. Thoughts, panel? Because, yeah, see, my thinking is they keep telling us about budget and everything else, but we've had 8 episodes of Ncuti, plus I know the bits and bobs. But instead of the 5 ones for the Sea Devils, you could, there's 13. Yes, yes, within that, I know you might have to have the Doctor in it a bit less because I think logistically 13 episodes in 1 year is a big task for the main actor, I think. But that's it.
Well, it's only so many you can produce per year anyway. 9 months work, 9 months worth of work.
It does take a long time to film that sort of thing. It's very different to how it used to be filmed. So yeah,
no,
I mean, you know, companions, as I said earlier on today, it would they would mysteriously disappear. You know, get like kidnapped or something like that, and then suddenly reappear. It's because they're taking time off.
Yeah,
realistic. But that was classic. This is now.
I would say it's a multitude of things. Number one, if I could have 13 episodes back, I would be like, yes and no, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Because, you know, back in the day, we had, you know, 13 episodes and also 2 spin-offs all getting done back to back. It could be done. Are they also maybe trying to kill the show slowly? Because Jodie ended up getting 10 and now Ncuti getting 8. Which, you know, see if you're going to have 8 episodes, that's fine if you're actually going to do great character development. But if you're now first season of your brand new Doctor, it's already going to be short enough with 8 episodes, and 2 of those episodes he's not in it. You know, that's not going to do you any favors. But I would like. I think it's also a trope of modern TV as well. Now there's not that many series out there now that are now doing.
What if I said this as an option, folks? I get the production values. I'm not a producer, so when I hear that they can't fit so many episodes in this modern technological world in a frame, I understand that. So me liking 28 episodes of Doctor Who every year, nah, that's for the fairies. So let's start again. What about this clever idea? Instead of doing Doctor Light episodes, which seems to be in favour, and putting the companion to the front, which is not my thing, why don't we have 2 production teams going, and we have a current Doctor who maybe does about 8 or 9 episodes of the run, but there's another Doctor, and it could be McGann, it could be one of the older ones, and they make about 3 episodes per year, and then they undercut each other. And I don't know, I think there's a way of doing it where there's more Doctor action, and you're not saying we can't have, you know, Ncuti has to sleep, Ncuti has to rest. What do you reckon to that?
Sort of timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly, that phrase.
Parallel.
I don't think they'll go for that.
I think
if it meant bringing Paul McGann back, they wouldn't. They seem to snub him quite a lot. So
yeah.
Well, you're taking the light away from the Gatwa.
Oh, you mean like You mean like Dr. Light episodes do?
Yeah, that's the only reason, probably the reason why they wouldn't do it, I reckon.
Well, that's it. The thing I would respond to that. Well, number one, with the Paul McGann situation, especially if Disney involved in the show now, that would have been, if the timing wouldn't have been any more perfect to do a Paul McGann spin-off, that was the time to do it. It would have been, instead of this Land in the Sea, whatever the hell it's going to be. Is anybody going to care about that? Probably not. People want Torchwood back. They want to see a Paul McGann series. That's what fans want to see. The war between the land and the sea. Number one, I love the Sea Devils. Can you really do a whole series based off the same old thing we've always said? Oh, this is our planet. Oh no, we live here now. Yes, we've already done this in Doctor Who multiple times now. Going back to the Ncuti Gatwa thing though, about it'll take the attention off him. Well, do you really have that much faith in your main actor? Is, the 60th anniversary, we have to bring Tennant back out of retirement again, and he sort of under snubs the new Doctor a little. Yes, and then as you said, having 2 episodes out of an 8-episode season not in it. Sort of like, I think they're doing a very good enough job themselves of snubbing Ncuti Gatwa, because quite frankly, I do think the guy has acting chops. There's no doubt about that. But, if the writing is letting him down, and the fact is, I understand it was his schedule, that the reason why he wasn't in certain things, work around the schedule. You know what? If you have to wait a bit longer for the season to come out, fine. I think it would have been better to have him there.
I don't get the lack of ambition from the showrunner. He's sat there. Yes, I'm calling you out, RTD, on this one, because you've gone, right, I've got 5 episodes to play with on a spin-off. We'll call it the whovians. I can do 2 Christmas specials. I say why, because they're always insignificant. So there's 7 episodes. Add them to your 2 seasons of 8. Now, you've got a lot to play with there. Now, a clever showrunner who knows how to do logistics. Remember the old days when producers knew how to do this? And you could actually say, right, we have 2 parallel tracks. We have the main new Doctor, but running along that, almost weaving in between, is, say, McGann, because McGann still looks good. I'm trying to think of, just think of another Doctor or 2, but it's main Doctor action. I think the classic Doctors would say, yes, please, maybe 1 each. And basically, the Whoniverse isn't lots of peripheral stories. I want the main game. I get Doctor Who more, whether it's Peter Davison, Paul McGann, Ncuti Gatwa. Now, who's up for that in the thread? Who's up for that on the panel? I'm saying RTD, do it. Get rid of the Sea Devils one. Get rid of doing a Torchwood. Do more Doctor Who.
Reply to some of them, and so I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be really nice. I don't want to come on here and be a dick. Be really nice, but I agree. Anyways,
Brendan for showrunner. Grant G. Yes, I'm up for it now. I'm up for it. Bye. I'm packing my bags. I'm off to London. Oh, sorry, not London, Cardiff.
Can we have 7? Can we have 7 executive directors as well?
Yes. I'll make sure
one of them.
All are my executive producers. And you can go and colorise away.
Yes.
I'll be Romana. Not Rani, because we don't have the rights to Rani, but I'll be Romana.
What I'll do is, Rachel, you can be in charge of bringing the Colin Baker stories back. There you go.
The thing is...
there you go. Yes.
But you mentioned it, though, the whole fact, you have classic Doctors back.
Yeah.
Was not the whole point of having the memory TARDIS that they could pop up again, but we wouldn't question why they look older?
Ryan, you're swearing. You're telling me blasphemous things here. The memory TARDIS was the biggest stupid... I mean, what was that piece of tat? I mean, I'd rather watch Steptoe and Son than memory TARDIS.
I still don't get it.
What piece of scrap was that? I just don't get... I mean, what was it? I mean, some bric-a-brac? You're facing some god, Sutek, who actually knows everything that's about the TARDIS. And then suddenly... Ruby Sunday's thought process and for God's sake. And then the memory TARDIS goes and finds a spoon. I mean, please explain that. Yes, Brendan for showrunner, because I'll make sure it makes blooming sense. Ah, God, I'd have had a fork in it, I think. I honestly thought by generation was going to mean some extra tenant. Joe, no. I mean, I know he's around. I'm a bit bored with a tenant doctor, though. I mean, yeah, we'll have to use
me
another
too.
one.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So there you go. That was one Vox Pops, and we've got one more, but this is quite a detailed one. So everybody join in the thread. This is a tasty one here. This is from Sam. Look, go bigger for her. So Eta Mirabilis. In the future, the Russell Davies II era and the Chibnall eras, along with the latter Capaldi-Moffat era, will be looked upon as how it all went wrong and preachy. The slow death of a once globally beloved IP at the hands of activist ideologues rather than intelligent writers. Cultural Marxism is taught at university, and progressives love that authoritarian ideology. When they teach the book 1984, it's not as a dire warning to tell them about authoritarian regimes. It's a roadmap to communism and cancel culture. We've seen the same woke mind virus writers and showrunners do this to Star Trek and Star Wars and all the rest of it. And then this last slide here. It's a common theme for the Newspeak crowd, isn't it? 1984, Orwell's Britain modified the past in true Marxist fashion to embed and solidify the new ideology has always been present, legitimize the new woke era by desecration of the classic era for agenda. There's a lot there. Is there anything you want to pick up on there? I'll start with Jeremy. Sorry, go on, Jeremy. Anything there you want to pick up on, as in you want to challenge or you want to agree with?
No, I agree with him 100%. Absolutely. Just think he's absolutely right. I feel the same way.
I mean, just looking at that slide there, I agree that I had Doctor Who recently, and Rachael was on, and I do feel as though NUWHO is desecrating parts of Classic Who. I do. Rachael, anything that you wanted to pull out of what he was saying here?
No, I think he's correct, actually. War Games is a perfectly good example of that. And the recent article that it was in Doctor Who magazine. I don't get Doctor Who magazine, but I have seen it about Jo Martin being, the first Doctor.
Yeah.
That's give over. She's good, right? Won't deny that, but nah. Pull the other one.
Yeah, desecration is a strong verb. It's disrespect for William Hartnell, let's be frank.
That's what that is, for sure. People always put him really low down the ranks in the terms of how they view him as the Doctor. But he was the one who set the ground level. He set the base level.
Yeah.
And they're the ones, people now, who are changing that base level. They're saying, no, that's not it. That was never it.
Yeah,
but also the marketing in terms of the DVDs, list him as the first Doctor.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, yeah, and also, have you noticed how it's sort of accelerated after we've lost Verity Lambert and people from the classic era? It seems to have gone since that has happened. It's just gone. Whoosh.
Well, yeah,
I think it's become more apparent anyway.
What are your thoughts, Ryan, on this one? Is he onto something?
Give me about 25 minutes.
All right, I'll go and take a break. I'll see you later.
Go and read that book. Go and read the book.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
Stay there. Now, I love Capaldi's last season. I was talking to you about this the other day.
Yeah.
You know what? At that point, public interest in the show had dwindled quite heavily by Capaldi's run. Not really anybody give a crap apart from people like us. But I loved Capaldi. I adore that man. I adored some of the stories. The writing, well, that's another topic for another day. But it should have ended with Capaldi, and it took a very long rest because that was the perfect way to end it. Then Jodie's era, that was the era that basically, in my opinion, has sort of buried the show. And now the era that has now befallen us is now the final nail in the coffin. Or even the final nail in the coffin, but you've actually got the hammer and smashed in through the coffin and then smashed the person's skull in that's in the coffin. But I have to agree with him 100% about that. This show now has been going, 20 years next year of NUWHO.
Yeah.
it's maybe time for a good long rest, but for some reason they just want to run it into the ground. And unfortunately, like he said, there's a lot of other franchises there that is unfortunately.
They want what they want is they want a pension. That's what they want. Okay, now I have advertised tonight, and everybody who watches on my channel, I don't mislead you. You do get what we advertised. Is Doctor Who a write-off? Well, here's my first kind of opening gambit. Now we've warmed up. Is Doctor Who a write-off? Yes, I know. Word puns everywhere. Right, here we go. So my first kind of element here, if I just show you, I've got it all set up. Okay, so that was the end of the Vox Pops in the vortex. And now, yeah, there he is, beating up a Dalek. Desecration, how dare he? Look, opening gambit for the panel and thread before we really go into the writer's choice and various other things. Jeremy, is Doctor Who already a write-off? Or is it in the process of being a write-off to the mainstream public, to you? We had our show ages ago, got 4,000 viewers in it about you leaving. Stop and what? Go on. You know the question.
Well, I think this reiteration of the show is pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to watch it, and I still feel that way. I've not been convinced in anything that I've seen or heard, which would get me back into it to get to watch season 2. As for a write-off, well, it's pretty close to it.
And that's the theme of tonight's show. We're going to mention it in so many different ways. But Rachel, just to start us off with where you stand on this, do you think Doctor Who's closer to being a television write-off now?
Oh my goodness, it's difficult to say. They're definitely trying to get in a new fandom. For me, I don't really recognize it anymore. So it's hard to say. I mean, it could be if Disney pulls out. I still can't see the BBC funding it, especially with the amount of people cancelling their what do you call it?
License.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have you got one?
It's like we've got. I mean, I will mention season 7 Blu-ray collection tonight. I will mention various other things because the comparisons are there. But Ryan, where do you stand? Just as a kind of concise starter on this one, in your opinion, is
the problem I think is the show itself is a complete write-off, but unfortunately the IP, the brand of Doctor Who, tends to still make the BBC quite a lot of money. And so I don't think they're going to let it go anytime soon. I think it is just going to, unless you bring a whole new team in. You got the same people who's been around since 2005 still doing it.
Yeah.
It's a completely new set of eyes on it.
I've got a question. Is Doctor Who and the classic Doctor Who completely under Bad Wolf now, or is the classic Who completely with the BBC and Bad Wolf are just in charge of the newer stuff? Because classic Who is obviously a big money spinner and still is.
It's just that classic Who seems to be getting touched on and desecrated and disrespected by the Bad Wolf team. Benjamin Cook coming in with Phil Collinson. I mean, Phil Collinson is a Bad Wolf executive producer, and he was the producer on the colorization of the War Games. So it looks as though it's RTD. I think what they've done is the BBC, good old BBC, haven't a clue what to do with Doctor Who. They've said, "Oh, get RTD back." Right, RTD, do what the hell you want.
Yeah, because I was just wondering if some of the profits, because obviously the audit came out, it was one of the biggest money spinners last year. I was just wondering if a lot of the money from Classic Who would go into reinvest in it, obviously into the classic side, but also go into the new Who production as well. Because, theoretically, they could actually do it at a lower budget, but it just depends how much money they would be bleeding from the new series as well.
Well, they just make fewer episodes, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
Fewer and fewer and fewer. Now, we've got sarcasm. We need sarcasm. Farsight, don't be daft, Brendan. Everything in the garden's rosy. Sounded like Ryan when he came on saying how amazing this is all going to be.
As rosy as my rosacea on my cheeks right now.
That's it. Sorry. Well, I don't mean
I
that.
got
But yeah.
wind slapped with rosacea today.
We've got Sean Cryer. It's a write-off. It's no longer Doctor Who. It's a pervert's paradise, and it needs to go. And yeah, strong language, but this is where I know. And Stephen Braddock.
Two minds, aren't they? It's interesting.
I know Stephen Braddock. We're going to mention Juno as well as the others a little bit later. My God, are we? I'm very worried about the content of Juno's episode. Now, I might have good news and I might have a bit of bad news. It's one of those because we were only speculating. The BBC and RTD will have to make sure nothing untoward gets onto the screen for a family audience that'll be held to pay. It's risky, and I dare say he's going to have to watch every comma.
Yeah.
But Rachel's been having a good look. She'll mention it, I hope, later. I've had a look at bits and bobs, so we are going to come to that. Do not you worry about that, folks. We really will. So, yes. Is it a write-off? Is it heading to be a write-off? Can we do anything to save it? I think sometimes we do have to kind of remind ourselves, you know, of the beauty of this program and of why we fell in love with it in the first place. And so therefore, part of me is going to do this. Are you ready, everybody? Here we go.
Take control. It's our minds that they take over. Speak up, I can't hear. Earthmen have visited the Sepsphere, but we do not wish to harm you.
Yes, here we go. I mean, just to kind of, you know, I call it balance. Here we go. We've got a lovely TV schedule. Some of you may not have even been born, but if you take a look at this, everybody, just to kind of make you feel a little bit warmer before we do any more critiques, look at that. We've got 30th of January, 1971. In the morning, the banana splits. But then after Grandstand, you've got Doctor Who, The Mind of Evil Part 1. And then you've got Lucky 13, which looks as though, what's that, engine failure? Oh, it's all about Apollo 13. Then you've got It's Cliff Richard, and then Dixon of Dock Green. Now, I was only, I was tiny. But, you know, whether you were there or not, and obviously some of us can talk about some of those programs and say, gosh, does it make you feel all warm and fuzzy? But also Rachel and Ryan, you could also talk about what would have been a good TV schedule for you with Doctor Who included, you know?
Oh,
But,
I don't know.
but you see, I mean, I do remember the Dixon of Dock Green, and it was a great time. Yeah, Doctor Who set it all right with a moral compass for the week. And then Cliff Richard, yes. He was always on with Una Stubbs, Hank Marvin, of course. And I do remember Lulu was always popping on. And then Dixon of Dock Green, sometimes we were lucky enough to stay up. Bit of crime, very sedate crime. And at the end, he stands outside his police box and he would tell us what he thought. And he would give us some advice or, you know, the moral of the week.
Evening all.
And then it's time for bed, and the world is safe because that copper will deal with everything, just like our intergalactic copper. The Doctor will deal with everything. God, what a world! I could sleep.
I remember watching Mind of Evil back then in 1971. I was about 8 years old.
Gosh,
and it was quite frightening. It's quite a frightening story, actually.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Scary story.
Now, because our season 7 collection's about to arrive in March, I just thought I'd show you a year earlier. I'll go timey-wimey. Now, if you take a look at this, oh, folks. So when you get your season 7 Blu-ray collection, folks, just imagine, yes, Grandstand was on before it. This one is, of course, part 1 of the Silurians. Then you've got the Debbie Reynolds show. And then after that, Cliff Richard, he's there again. And then some high adventure at 6:50, City Beneath the Sea. I'd be up for that, I tell you. The Val Doonican show was on early. Then Vanity Fair, then Match of the Day, and then Braden's Week at the end. There you go. That's a kind of... That's
Marine Boy there at
in
the morning, the Japanese cartoon, and Man on the Moon. Which is
I mean,
film.
To me, that warms. I mean, it's just before my time. I wouldn't have been watching. I wasn't watching Doctor Who then. I was only about 18 months or something. But basically, it just looks amazing, that schedule, because it's got variety. It's got clarity of what you can guarantee on a night. And just like in a moment, we'll be talking about DEI maybe and selection of writers and selection of content. That looks so predictably safe. Now, Ryan, I know you won't be around, but when you started watching Doctor Who, what was a good schedule for you? A good, comfortable schedule?
To be honest with you, as far as schedule goes, I didn't necessarily give a crap about everything else that was going on. Doctor Who, it was very much a case of whatever was on, like Weakest Link or Strictly or whatever it is. It was literally a case on. The only reason why that would have been on the TV because you've been sitting there for the last 10 minutes just to wait for Doctor Who to come on.
Yeah.
But even just the fact, like sitting down, sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock, you know, and I always would shout up at my dad, going, "Come on, you gotta get down quick! It's about to start." Like it was, like Doctor Who was very much a family affair in this house, and I miss that, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm aware that for every person that registers and triggers, other people are going, that means nothing to me. And as I come to Rachel's one of those. But the thing is, I think as you were saying there, Ryan, and me and Jeremy particularly will know that the Playway music, you'd watch Playway, Basil Brush.
Yeah.
And then, so even if you didn't watch the program, that music told you better get ready onto the settee, because you don't, as I said, I would not go to the toilet for that 25 minutes because it was too dangerous to go in the hallway. You know, you had to really be stuck. So, Rachel, when you were watching Doctor Who as a kid, can you remember any kind of signifiers that the program's about to come on or what was after it?
Well, by the time I was born and around, it had already been cancelled, so I would be watching it on VHS. And was it Gold? Did it come out on Gold?
Yes, it did.
I've been watching something on Gold or something, put it on Gold or something like that. But my most vivid memories was when it came back. I was a lot older when it came back in 2005, I think it was. So I would have been doing my national diploma at that point in 2005 in performing arts, and so I would have been just studying on in the day, and it would have been whatever was coming before it. Normally, like it was normally something like The Weakest Link or something like that. Or, was it Strictly? I can't remember, but it's something like that. And as soon as that, it'd be like, right, get with my dad, and we'd sit down and we'd watch it. So,
and this is what I mean. And great Lorraine Hegarty, we mentioned her on the show on Friday. Good for Lorraine Hegarty, you know, controller of BBC One, and she took a blooming risk. She brought back ballroom dancing on BBC One, and she made it a hit. She brought back Doctor Who. I mean, that woman, I hope she's got some awards somewhere, Lorraine Hegarty. Good for you. Now, Sadako24 says, this is, I think, a big reason why the return of Tennant didn't save the show's ratings. We've lost that tradition of a time slot the family watched together. I agree. And yeah, that's why I mentioned Lorraine Hegarty, because yes, it was 20 years ago, but when she did it, they said Saturday night TV was dead for family viewing, and she brought it back.
That's a huge risk to take.
Yeah, and she was a brave woman for doing. I think a lot of the BBC executives just follow trends. They think the trend is whatever, you know, streaming's the future. Then they suddenly panic. Well, no, I think you can bring it back as easily as just doing it like that. You just need predictable programs that the family think are safe. You see,
Strictly's done. Sorry, randomly just talking about Strictly. Strictly now has all its tours. It does all these spin-off shows and theatre performances with its cast. It's become a big success. That's a big money spinner.
Well, you see, I always remember, as I come to Stephen Braddock's comment, in the 70s, we used to watch Doctor Who at my nan's house, and she only had an outside loo. So I had to go down the dark garden thinking about the monsters coming.
Yes.
I mean, you know, that's a hell of a problem.
Me too. Yeah.
You would have been grateful for the historical pieces at that point.
Oh God, this is it. You know, Granddad, will you come to the loo with me? I mean, honestly, it's terrible. But you never went to the loo when Doctor Who was on. That was the law. But I do remember when Basil Brush was finishing, the last item on the Basil Brush show was him having a story read to him, and his style, as you know, Basil Brush was to be cheeky and interrupt, and I kept wanting him. I liked it, but I also thought, yeah, hurry up, Mr. North, hurry up, because I want Doctor Who on. So it had a double whammy effect to me. Yes, get on with the story, finish the story, and all the rest of it. So, I know, great memories. And obviously, as we talk about the death or the limping of Doctor Who. I just wanted to bring that in. And just before we move from season 7, well, we'll have a look at season 7 for a moment. Those were the top 15 programs on BBC in 1970. Just take a look at that, everyone, and look at the numbers. Miss World. Now, you know, in our current climate, 26.5 million watched Miss World. 26 million watched Apollo 13 Splashdown. There's a lot of World Cup matches. That makes sense. England v West Germany, 26 million. The Eurovision Song Contest, 24 million. The Royal Variety Show, 23 million. The FA Cup. It's all sport, isn't it? Sport and big events. And then you've got the Morecambe and Wise Christmas Show, 20.5 million. But look at them. 4 Steptoe & Sons, 20 million. This is, you know, things have changed, but it also shows you Gavin and Stacey is over 20 million now. Wallace and Gromit is over 20 million now. Those numbers can be seen again. I think you just have to do the right schedule. That's my argument.
And actually make a good program.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, sorry. We had an outside loop for the duration of season 7. Oh God! Autons. There's a scene in Spearhead from Space that looks as though it's in the back garden or the backyard. I mean, whoa. Well, let's take a quick look at that then, folks, because obviously, I remember I'm about to come. I'm about to come to is Doctor Who a write-off, but to give us street cred and to give us, you know. We need to show we're Doctor Who fans, first of all, you know, to have that criticism. Now, Jeremy, I've already ordered that Chronicles, have you?
I'm very, very tempted. Very, very tempted.
It's blooming good timing. They've done it right for once. Doctor Who magazine has lined it up perfectly for, obviously, the Blu-ray collection. So 1970, get ordering, folks. Look, in only a week or so's time, you could have it on your shelves. Have you ordered it, Ryan?
No, because I'll be honest with you, I actually didn't know it was coming out. But now that I do, I will definitely be picking up a copy of that, because I don't really tend to be honest, and this is going to sound so bad. The only Doctor Who magazines I bothered picking up was the 50th anniversary ones, because I went and got like the special one, and then like Tom Baker signed it and all that. And then after that, the only ones I bothered with are the ones I appear in.
Well,
I'll put you know, just so I can go, oh yeah, I was in it. I'll be honest. So
I'll probably give it a quick thumb through in WH Smith's. That's if it's still standing.
See if it's still, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are still talking about our discussion then about, you know, whether you went to the loo, what the schedules were. And I like to do this because it just makes me feel happier. Wasn't this what Doctor Who was and what it still should be? Isn't it? Isn't it? Have I got it right?
That'd make a great Doctor Who episode, that would.
Oh, I loved even making that. Just a simple, you know, a bit of scary music for Scary Monster, bingo. It's not hard, you know.
Yeah.
Honestly. So 1970. So of course, the BFI, I think it was yesterday, had an event. And of course, you've got your good old Blu-ray collection there. They watched Spearhead from Space, and they had some guests there. And it's always lovely when people on X and various places show you photographs. So basically, they had Robin Squire there, who was one of the actors playing an Auton. Carolyn John's daughter, Daisy Ashford, was there with Matthew Sweet. So it was a nice event. There you go, watching Spearhead from Space with a lot of fellow Doctor Who fans. Yep. I mean, I've got it on order. It's a hell of a backlog at the moment. And these are the extras. I mean, I'm not going to go through all the extras now. I did it on the detox. But are there anything in particular you're looking forward to? I'll ask everybody. Jeremy?
Well, practically everything, I suppose, really. As long as it's more sort of related to the show. As long as it doesn't go off at a tangent. But
yeah.
Most of the extras are usually pretty good. The only ones I'm not that keen on is Behind the Sofa, but it's nice to see the old stars of the show.
Yeah. What about you, Rachel?
Just turn my mic back on. Well, I am still not very modern. I haven't ordered it because I don't have a Blu-ray player, so I won't be
Right.
seeing any of it. Sorry to disappoint.
And of course, Ryan,
I-
Ryan, you have been involved with the Blu-rays before, haven't you? So I might as well just mention that for a second and explain yourself if you want.
Well, I wasn't involved in this one, which is disappointing because season 7 is one of my favorites. But as far as the extras go on that, I'm looking forward to the chat with John Levine because he's always a laugh.
Yes.
I'm not overly keen on the behind the sofa stuff myself because it's unfortunate that we don't have a lot of the actors that were around in the 60s and 70s, so they're having to bring people in from a lot of the 80s stuff. I'm sort of like, I would, behind the sofa stuff should have been done 20 years ago. But, unfortunately, hindsight is a beautiful thing.
I mean, I looked at all the items when we did the detox and I thought there's an awful lot of established ones already that we've already got. Let's be honest, if you've already got the DVDs, you've already got lots of existing stuff. The new ones was mostly behind the sofa with a bit of cleaning up of titles and stuff like that. So actually, I got a surprise. I was expecting to see even more. Maybe I'm getting more demanding as we go, but I am looking forward to it. And as Doctor Who fans, why wouldn't we? I mean, on your channel, Rachel, you've already done Spearhead from Space because you so love the Autons, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. They're my favorite. They terrify me. Thankfully, I have done all 3 Auton stories, so I will never. Well, I probably will watch them again, but I won't have to review them again unless you ask me to. But that's a different.
Oh, it's go on thread. Go on thread. Dare me to ask Rachel to review. Yeah, there you go. And then
They're not real. They're not real.
I know, but it still gives me nightmares even now.
I'll tell you which one gives me not nightmares, but the one that makes me go ooh is the Green Death.
Oh,
Really?
okay, yeah.
Those
I
things.
think I've watched that one.
I can't
I always
even.
forget I watch it.
I can't even mention the word of them. It just goes.
I think the Planet of the Spiders had an effect on me because it was in every English story in my exercise book for quite a while after that. The spider on the back. I haven't got arachnophobia or anything, but it was quite a moment to see Sarah Jane with a massive spider on her back, and then knowing that they're talking inside. And Liz Sladen was always good at looking possessed, when she did her I'm possessed in Brain and Morbius and all the rest of it. Android Invasion.
It's that bit where the spider just goes like that. That's the bit.
Oh yeah. Whoa. I never thought they were models or anything. I was thinking, oh my God, they are vicious. And of course that was Alpha Centauri's voice, wasn't it? It was
You're saying Churchman.
Yeah. So now we are tiptoeing through quite a lot of discussion here. Now, my question was about, is Doctor Who already written off by the public, by the fans? Are people getting a bit peeved? And we're building to so many items. But here's a bit of evidence for or against, I would argue. There's the argument about the fugitive Doctor. Yes. But did you see the update today in merchandise? It has now been officially confirmed by Al Dewar via Power of 3 podcast with Kenny Smith that the Beep the Meat plushie will not be produced. And you do start to think, well, if they've missed their moment, but equally, if Doctor Who was cutting edge and everything that Doctor Who touches turns to gold, that would be getting made now, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Absolutely. Be selling like hotcakes.
And out of all of it, out of all of the stuff that we've just had, Beat the Meat would probably be the most interesting one for people because of the comic strip. If I've got that correct, haven't I? Yeah.
Star Beast.
I thought it was a good execution of the character. The eyes were amazing. I thought all that was
how they done it.
Yeah, and I could have seen kids wanting that. So it just shows you there might, the deniers will tell us, 25 million people on repeat watch have watched Star Beast. Well, why aren't they buying? Why is the demand not there then?
My local B&M has got all the latest figures in now, but they're not clearing off the shelves.
Nah. And of course, then there's other merchandise that tells you that what's maybe the problem with Doctor Who or not. There's some charity merch for you. Now, you know, I'm part of this LGBT squad, apparently, but I'm not buying this tat. I mean, it's just, I thought we were all Doctor Who fans. Whatever we were, all of us are Doctor Who fans. And that's really interesting. But once you start saying, but I'm a gay Doctor Who fan, I'm a classic Doctor Who fan, you're dividing. It's rubbish.
The label.
Exactly. And labeling divides, doesn't it, Rachel?
Yeah. And this is just a money spin, really, more than anything else.
Well, they did it with the poppies. Remember when they did that with the poppies last year?
Yeah.
And they had a poppy badge with the rainbow flag. And I'm thinking, everybody fought under the flag and fought fascism. Why does it matter who or what you were? I mean, a lot of nonsense. It's division. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And it's got nothing to do with representation. It's to do with I don't like division.
I think there's too much merchandise anyway, and the quality is not there.
Yeah, I agree with
100%. You know, 100%. I mean, there is some quality merchandise coming through, but you will get some that isn't.
So please, everybody understand us as watching. I'm not having a go at the cause. I am just saying, is it necessary at all? Because we're all Doctor Who fans. Just make us a beep the meep if that's the case, you know. But as it was. So there you go. There's maybe a bit of evidence before we get to the big stuff. Now, I want to invite my panel and the thread maybe. You know me, I run a structured ship. You know, everyone says typical teacher you, Brendan. However, I do want to give the panelists a chance to just get something off their chest. You know, get the steam going. And I've got no say. I don't know what the hell they're going to say. So, of course, this is going to be interesting. What do they want to get off their chest? So here's my little segment, first of all. Different versions of getting it off your chest. I think Nicola Bryant certainly wanted to get Jason Connery. But then Jeremy, is there anything in the Doctor Who universe that is at the moment really getting on your wick?
What you're talking about, past or present?
It could be anything because you've got a free hit here.
But by regeneration,
that's bothering you.
That's yeah. I didn't think it was a very good idea. I mean, you know, Ncuti in his underpants, when really these are the only underpants he should have been wearing.
They're passion killers, Jeremy.
And on the backside is the end.
Oh, TV. I tell you what, who's going to go nightclubbing in them and pull? Do you think Ncuti wore them when he was a lap dancer and he had his little, you know?
I can't get into these now. They're a little bit tight, and if I did, Tom Baker would have a big nose, you know. But
so by generation peeved you off. You're a classic fan.
Yeah,
but
I thought it was a load of nonsense.
What was? Go on, talk us through it a little bit more, because we're all allowed a freebie on this one.
Well, it's a kind of a cod regeneration, really, and I think it's much better if it would just come back to the same ordinary regeneration. I just don't think the idea worked, because it's almost like saying this is Doctor Who and this is Doctor Who, but it's not quite the same Doctor Who. So right away, it's like a generation less, you know, like if you were recording on a VHS tape, you're recording one generation, then another one, then another one. So it gets more and more diluted.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far they're going to take this by regeneration.
Well, he talked a lot of nonsense as per usual, Rtd, when he overspoke, and he said that means every old Doctor is still traveling around. You thought, well, you've taken all jeopardy away completely.
Yeah.
That nobody dies. That, I mean. And of course, the nonsense that David Tennant's still having that salad with Donna Noble somewhere in London and couldn't give a toss about the planet breaking up. I mean
Doctor Who would not be doing that. I can tell you that. The characterization would not be settling down. somewhere in
No.
south of England.
No, not at all. So Ryan, you've got a freebie here.
Oh God, just one.
Just
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Just the one.
Oh God, right. No, what? Because I'll know what I'll try to be. Because a lot of what you were saying, I completely agree with as well. I actually would say a really big missed opportunity to possibly try to fix things would have been the whole sort of Judy era Joe Martin thing. If they actually, because we were talking about Joe Martin as sort of what, well, okay, this could be a point. Now, whenever Jodie first regenerates, you know, the TARDIS gets blown to hell and basically kicks her out of the thing. What if in that moment, the entire time, we were actually in a different universe to our own, and the Joe Martin Doctor wasn't, and it means it wouldn't affect anything. It wouldn't be any of this, oh, she's actually the first Doctor before William Hartnell and all that. That actually would have been a Doctor from a complete alternative universe, and this entire Jodie era was a completely separate universe altogether. It means you could have done whatever and it wouldn't have affected anything whatsoever. The whole flux thing where basically the entire universe gets wiped out doesn't matter because you're in a different universe. And then it could have been a massive realization at the end, and you know, we actually maybe could have done something smart and clever with the writing, but unfortunately they didn't.
Well, before I say, and Rachel hasn't got anything, but something may come up as I do this. But I'll go through the thread, Rachel.
Well, it's just I've aired a lot of all of my airs and graces already, so I think most of you probably actually will know. So I couldn't think of which one to choose. So
Sonic screwdriver.
Well, I'll
yeah,
do
that one's a contentious issue for me. Let's get rid of it. There you go.
Well, I'll do the thread. I'll do what the thread is saying then. Okay, so Heather, did the bi-generation split the asexual, bisexual Doctor into a gay and straight Doctor? Bit insulting if that was the idea. That's how you could read it, because that seems to be how it's played out. Julian, I hate the bi-generation too. Completely unnecessary. It was just RTD wanted to do something different. Julian, what have I been saying for a while? It seems to me that the people who are making NUWHO are bored with the concept of Doctor Who. They want a different show. And that to me just shows in so many different choices they're making. And so let's have a look. David Harden here. That is one aspect of modern Doctor Who that I have not liked. I prefer the idea that the exterior is a shell and the Doctor crosses a threshold to get into the TARDIS. Oh yeah, remember that? There was a kind of it was said in the books as well, wasn't it? There was a kind of force field in between. Richards, the way Gatwa spoke to the second Tenant Doctor about emotions and rehab was terrible. It's not a soap character. I hated that. You see, whether you love the Tenant Doctor, whether you're just like any Doctor and all the rest of it, I hated that one Doctor was almost humouring, patronising, sympathising with another one. These are heroes. There's no, and anyway, what's really weird is while he said to the 14th Doctor, we're doing rehab in reverse, since then he's done a lot of crying, so the rehab's not work.
He never stops.
He never stops. He needs to go back to rehab, and he maybe needs to say to the David Tennant Doctor, you're not as bad as I think, and actually, yeah, let's bring on Mavic Chen again. Who cares? Crimpline, bi-generation makes Ncuti feel like the oddball junior of Doctors, an offshoot, a copy, a fake, not the real one. I suppose that explains why Ncuti behaves nothing like the Doctor. Well, that's hopefully the plan. I don't believe it, but somebody out there might think there's a plan out there to split them, then bring them back. Sean Cryer agrees with you, Jeremy. The bi-generation was ridiculous. It was there for its bi overtures. Well, we had the bi element in Star Beast, didn't we? The female presenting. All drama has been removed since that empty child garbage. There's no drama left in current Who. There isn't. They don't want us having problems. Having Tennant wearing his clothes and shooting his pants was objectifying and inappropriate. Spot on, Julian. I agree. How can you introduce a main lead, a new one, and undermine him against the one he's just leaving? Crazy. David Hardin, make Joe Martin's Doctor from a different universe where the Doctor is always a woman, and establish that Georgie is from there too. The real Doctor is in that other universe, trapped there, and then we've got male, female. If you want your Barbarellas, go that way. If you want your,
I originally thought that's what happened when she fell through whatever it was that she fell through. I can't remember. I've only ever watched it once, and that she'd slipped into an alternate universe. That's what I thought had happened.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I want nothing explained. As fans, we've learnt this now, haven't we? Because as soon as you say that, somebody like Chris Chibnall turns up and says, "I'll explain everything." No, we want nothing explaining. Nothing. Right, Charlie, I saw you at the beginning there. Good to see you. Hope you've subscribed and discovered us. I thought the whole universe blew up during the Matt Smith era, so everything since is technically a reset. What was that episode with the exploding TARDIS in the sky? It was around that time. Oh, God. Do you know what? Right, Charlie, I don't know what the panel thinks, but we've had a lot of exploding TARDISes. We've had it dipped in the crucible in Stolen Earth. We've had a shrunken one. We seem to have had a fair few. You see, they get bored with Doctor Who. They have to play with the TARDIS, burn it, explode it. And what did they do in Wild Blue Yonder? Blow it up again. And then they did that stupid R2D2 effect with the Sonic, where it did a reset. Unbelievable.
Get rid of it.
Big issue actually is I think a lot of the writers just don't do any explaining and basically go, well, let Big Finish take care of that.
Well, I think you might be onto something then, because it just seems to be the vogue now not to. And of course, we've got brand new writers coming in who we will be talking about. Now, what a name here, Borussia Munchin Flapjacks. As much as I like and respect Joe Martin's Doctor, making hers the first is disrespectful to Hartnell and his legacy. And I think we all do agree on that one. And I think that's why they didn't dare do it. They didn't dare even put her into the regeneration of the War Games.
It undermines everything that Hartnell worked on.
Yeah.
And every Doctor that's built on that since.
So I'm going to introduce you to a concept now that we Doctor Who fans don't really understand, which is to have a life and perspective. We were all told off in The Spectator this week. Doctor Who fans and its writers, you all need to grow up. Now, actually, it was an interesting article, I thought. I know, Rachel, you've seen it as well. I actually thought there were some interesting points, actually, because when we are now about to go into this next part of our program, when we do talk about the selection of writers, Juno, Dawson, and everything. Right, let's just have a chill pill for a second, because I do think this is important. It does say Doctor Who started in the 63s, is often spoke about with a curious reverence, as though it was something other than trash TV. There seems to be this unhealthy infatuation by the BBC with it at the moment, which I agree with. It's not that do you think, Jeremy, Ryan and Rachel, that when I used to start watching Doctor Who, it was seen as something embarrassing? Let's be honest, we've all been there at school and that. Yeah. And then suddenly it's now this amazing high quality drama. Now, I do like Doctor Who and it has got good production values, but I do think something's happened in our culture and in how the media talk that suddenly Doctor Who is up there like Hamlet. It's like, what? It's not. It's not. It's our little program.
It's a popular television program, and that's how it should be. It's a science fiction program, and that's how it should be. You know,
I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be seen as, Kin Lear or something, because then I think it becomes something that
When Thunderbirds was described in a TV film book, it said superior puppet TV series. And they were right. I'd like to see Doctor Who superior TV science fiction show.
Oh, the only one.
long running, so the long running TV.
Because I used to like it when we beat Primeval and Buck Rogers. We'd always defeated them, So it goes on. It is interesting, this, because as Doctor Who fans, you'd think this is the only thing in town. Scripting the best TV show of all time is truly a dream come true, said Juno Dawson. NUWHO Ellams, another Doctor Who writer for season 2, said, the show invited me to dream, to live beyond my reality. Getting to write for the show felt like touching God. And it I thought that was hyperbole, I must admit. I mean, good, they've got a job with Doctor Who. I'm pleased in that way, but, I way. I've long understood lies knowing Oh, yeah, I'll do the next bit and then I'll come to you all. I do care, says the writer, that the BBC has become so clueless as to present it as an important drama. Now, this person's a dad. I see Doctor Who being presented as a pinnacle of contemporary culture and feel that a vital point has been missed. You know, the horror of Doctor Who isn't Daleks or woke politics. It's that these days we are asked to treat a mediocre kids' TV show as a major artistic achievement.
It is, though. It's been running for so long.
Yeah. Low culture does not enrich history, but it does enrich life. And he's trying to get the point right that, you know, he's not being a snob. Bit more here. Peter Capaldi's newly reincarnated Doctor in 2014. Remember that moment when he said, "Oh, that's good. I'm Scottish. I can complain about things. I can really complain about things now." It was a nicely light-footed and self-mocking tone. If the first female black and trans and gay leads entered with the same irreverence, I'd be delighted to hear it. And as he says, I ceased noticing the show once my kids stopped putting it on. But the BBC once defended the idea that maturity was desirable. To date, offers a view of life in which intellectual seriousness is belittled as pretentious fraud. Light entertainment is wonderful stuff, but it destroys its own value the moment it starts taking itself too seriously. And they said their 7-year-old came into the kitchen once and said, "Mummy, Daddy, what's female sexual appetite? And what's that got to do with handbrake turns?" And they've been watching kids' TV. And as you may see, this is me slowly venturing us into the big debate about Juno, Dawson, and some of the selection of writers, because what is appropriate, what is Doctor Who content, etc., is going to come into our discussion, isn't it? And so just to finish this off, low culture's fine. And as he says, you know, good stuff, Top Gear, it turned out. Even though it wasn't made for children, the kids loved it. It was accessible because it had no pretensions to seriousness. It was desiring to entertain and show middle-aged men acting like prats. And so, you know, that's the argument there, yeah? Do you think there's anything we can take from that before we move on regarding, as Doctor Who fans, are we taking this all too seriously?
I think if... Are we taking it too seriously? I don't know.
I think the show for some fans, including myself, is a serious part of my life.
It's a big part of mine.
I can't explain it any more than that, but it's you know, if I've been watching the show for the last 55 years, it's a big chunk of me. And you know, I do take it kind of sort of seriously, but I don't know. Everybody to their own, you know, with their own views on it.
I think to bring the others in and take on what you said, Jeremy, I think what's happening is I feel as though the Doctor Who program used to be, I didn't own it. I was a kid and a teenager watching it, and I was normally not shouting from the rooftops that I was watching it. I felt like an outsider. I feel as though something has happened in our country where suddenly it's seen as, you know, it might win a BAFTA now. It might win this. It might win that. And suddenly, you know, how many awards did David Tennant win when he was the Doctor? Television awards and that. So it suddenly became popular. It suddenly became the in thing.
Elevated, yeah.
Yeah. And there is a point there, and maybe after, where my little program, where you were almost embarrassed to mention it sometimes, suddenly people want to own it. And suddenly people want it to show what they want it to show. And I think something happened. Something happened in the noughties when the program went from there, which some people sniffed at, to if we can own Doctor Who and we can actually have it as a platform for this type of politics, this type of agenda, great. And it's become, as everyone says, a cultural icon. And so when something becomes a cultural icon, people want to put their flag on it. And I think that's what's happened.
It's happened now, yeah, certainly in the last...
definitely now,
3, 4, 5, 7 years ago. But when it came back in 2005, 2006, I don't think they had that kind of agenda going on it at that particular time. I think it's only more recent now.
It's interesting, isn't it, Jeremy? You're being very reasonable there about a NUWHO first era. But when I was saying to Ryan the other day, when I look back at Rtd'1's era and a bit of Moffat's, I do start to actually think, hold on a minute, I overlooked that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
There were some points that I overlooked as well. where you have the Slitheen aliens breaking wind. It's kind of like, does this work or does it not work? And how do I feel about it? And I thought, well, it must work because it's popular. People like it at that particular time.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, when you look back retrospectively now, I take what Jeremy's saying, and I think Jeremy's been reasoned and reasonable. But do you think there has been a bit more of an agenda, and do you think that's ultimately going to write off our program?
I would say for the first era of RTD, like we talked about this the other day, I think there's a massive difference between something, because there's still a lot of points being made there in the first hour, like in Doctor Who. There's always little points being made, but there's always a very big difference between something that's very well written and entwined into the story, rather than doing something for the sake of it and basically slapping you in the face with it and going, if you don't like this particular opinion, instead of giving you a choice, if you don't like this particular opinion, you're wrong and you are the bad guy. But that's the thing, like, and everybody's like, oh, you know, if you slag off the modern show at all, it's very much a case of, oh, you're anti-gay, you're anti-this, anti-that. It's like, if you ask any fan of sort of like millennial fan of NUWHO, one of their favorite characters is always going to be Captain Jack, a character that was very gay, very much would shag anything. Like, there was literally a scene in Torchwood where we literally see him bombing Ncuti. We didn't have a problem with that, you know. But the thing is, Captain Jack was a very well written character, a lovable character, and the show even, like, I think I do agree with that, where we can go back and watch it now and there's, oh, I see a little thing there, but it's not right up in your face. It's not in your face enough to go, oh, that's annoyed me, you know. Like,
Yeah.
You're slowly nudging the barriers, just pushing it a little bit. In it.
It was about a year ago. Oh God, it was about a year ago. Doctor Who Monthly, and it did. It was probably around June, Gay Pride Month, because they married the two together, and they went retrospectively over all of Classic Who and New Who, and they said that character there was probably gay, that character there was probably trans, and I thought, no, just don't do that. That's what I have a problem with, because why are we doing that? It wasn't there in the original. It isn't there in the target book. It isn't there in the script, and it wasn't acted that way.
That's true. Well, that's true. But some of those characters could have possibly been LGBTQ or whatever, but it wasn't brought up in the script, and it wasn't overtly mentioned, you know, what the character's sexual preference was. But it didn't matter because it didn't move the plot along. They did mention it.
And it was partly because the scripts were focused on adventure. The scripts were focused on the Doctor and certain perils. And if anything's vague, people are reading into that going, there's a hole there. No. It just wasn't explained because it wasn't important to the space-time drama. That's what. Yeah. Now, just because there's a hole there that hasn't been explained doesn't mean you have to fill it with an agenda. Leave it alone. That's when I don't like it, because I can see flags being put down everywhere. And that's unnecessary. If you're supposed to like Doctor Who because of what it does on the tin, you don't like Doctor Who because you find there's a flag there and a flag there and a flag there. No. And I think that's what I don't like, that there's a revisionism going on that is actually very sinister and menacing, and it's a lie anyway, let's be honest with you.
I was enjoying the Star Beast right up until they did pronouns.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa, where did that come from? That came from like left field, and that's not how you talk naturally. But what? No. Why? And then, you know, the meat. Oh, and the doctor's like, oh, I'm sorry.
It's almost like someone's just come into the room and just said, stop.
You're watching.
Now start again. It's an embarrassing sort of stop in the.
Go on, Ryan.
Like, I was just going to say, you hit the nail on the head there about unnatural dialogue. I think that has been a massive issue with the show the past several years. That I think you've actually nailed that completely on the button, because there is just certain things you're like, a normal person would never say that.
No.
Yeah.
And it's like the meep was already referring to itself as the meep, so we got it. It was the meep fine. We didn't need that brief moment in some very well written dialogue just to go, hey, pronouns, let's do this. You know,
Well, it was, after, do you know what? If you really do a decoding of some of this, the great RTD, it doesn't work because in the Star Beast, for example, this trans character Rose, as there's a stranger in her house who's the doctor, and to just turn around and say you've got the pronouns wrong, as you say, the challenge. Never mind the content. The challenge was. You don't do that. It's disrespectful. It's a stranger in the house, but he knows he knows your mum, so you probably wouldn't go there, would you? I think most people wouldn't, just for the sake of making a daft little point. For me, though, the Star Beast got me going when we had the bye nonsense because they were trying to get the bye bit in, but then also the female presenting Time Lord. I just thought if we're gonna do the Battle of the Sexes, but we're back to Billie Jean King again. This is just crazy.
The look on David Tennant's face whilst all of that is being said, it's just like, God, is he feeling this for real, or is this actually just him?
I think he is. I think he is.
I think he is now. I think he is a bit captured now, unfortunately.
As he said, I've got skin in the game.
Yeah. Whilst telling Kemi Bader not to.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you can show kindnesses and unkindnesses. There's an irony. Zero Room, obviously, Brian, one of our panelists, says David Tennant's son is non-binary, so he was all for it. He's acknowledging that he may have always been gay. The thing is, and I'm saying this to everybody, I've never mentioned the David Tennant thing in detail because, I've suspected that might have been the issue, but it's not relevant. You know, I might talk about Doctor Who, but some kid, as having been a teacher, I don't like to bring kids into it. But then, you know, the actor seems to, and I think no, just leave it. It shouldn't be about the kids at all. Leave it alone. Stop it.
This is why, you know, just getting back to the actual Doctor Who, this is why they aged Rose up, because they would have been doing some very serious stuff had they actually had Rose at the age she would have been if it was within the right timeline. So they aged her up. That's why they aged her up.
I do 15, still not brilliant though, is it?
I know, it's still not brilliant. And they certainly didn't get an adolescent to do the role. They got a late adolescent.
It's interesting that, I mean, God, when you look at everything, there's patterns within patterns. When RTD broke through and wrote Cree as Folk, the young lad, the schoolboy, was 15. Now,
and that not just Queer as Folk, there was another one, Years and Years as well, I think. Years and Years, there was a
kid there with the strange app, wasn't there? So there's interesting things to keep an eye on. Now, we're going to come to the right stuff now, and it sounds like I'm doing an old program on Channel 4. Now, this is where we really do look at, obviously, what's going on with NUWHO Season 2, our program now. So get ready for the right stuff, folks. Oh, I love a typewriter sound. It takes me back. I did typing for A level, you know. I did 3 A levels plus typing because I wanted to be a journalist, and so I quite like that. Takes you back. I was going to be a journalist. What happened to that? Now, I just want to put my cards on the table here, everybody in the thread. We're going to talk about the selection of the writers in Season 2. And some people think I'm baiting. Some people think I'm persecuting. Some people think I might be unfair. I want to put cards on the table. When I talk about writers in Doctor Who, any writer from An Unearthly Child onwards is fair game for criticism and eulogizing. And I will prove my point now. Me and Jamie in the last 2 days have been watching Silver Nemesis. And Kevin Clark... now, I'll bring Ryan on in a minute, who obviously was involved in that. But Kevin Clark's script, I am pulling my hair out. Do you know what? Sometimes I've been watching Classic Who after watching some of New Who, and I go, God, it's even better. But when I watched Silver Nemesis, I went in reverse. Now, if this is sacrilege for anybody, I'm sorry, but I watched Silver Nemesis and I was gutted at how bad it seems. But just while Ryan settles himself, there's Ryan there.
Sorry, I had to take a piss.
All right.
And I need to grab my phone charger.
You
'cause
see,
I'm about to die.
you pick your times because, of course, there you are with the spaceships in Silver Nemesis for the Blu-ray collection.
Oh yeah, there I am.
There you go. So I am criticizing Silver Nemesis's script, everybody, in front of Ryan, who did the Blu-ray extra bits there, as you
Well,
can
go on
see.
ahead. The script's a mess.
Yeah. Well, look at that. Look at that. Where you've got that's yours, isn't it?
It is as of 48 hours ago, yes, but it was originally made by, like, it was printed and everything by me, and then I basically done a swap to get it back again.
I mean, just so everybody knows, there's Ryan's credentials. All right. So just take a look at that and take a look. I mean, don't you want his job? Look at that. Tell us, Ryan, for a moment, what were you up to there?
What was I doing? Basically making sure that, because I'm not going to lie, you can probably see that that's a bit of a rickety setup there. I was basically making sure it wasn't going to fall, and then as soon as I would let go, they would get the shot, and then basically put your hands back on it again, because there was like a battery pack and everything that was all up inside that as well to make the lights and everything work. So it was pretty much probably just a case of making sure it didn't fall or trying to make sure it wasn't shaking.
Yeah. Well, so there you go. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing because I happened to be watching Silver Nemesis last 2 days. And then, as I said, I'm going to talk about the right stuff, which is us talking about the Doctor Who writers, present and past, if necessary. So I'm going to be consistent, I hope, and say Kevin Clark's script for Silver Nemesis seemed to be a lot of disjointed scenes that didn't seem to pull together. There was hardly any dialogue explaining anything. I didn't know why Lady Painfort suddenly knew how to time travel, although she was a witch. I didn't understand what that German had anything to do with it, apart from we all know the fascist links with, this, that, and the other. I didn't get any of it. I really didn't. And the Dolores, the American with the Cadillac, what was all that about? And I really, really talk about desecration of classic Who. And I know Kevin Clark didn't start this, but this just was a pile drive into it since Revenge of the Cybermen. I mean, Jerry Davis spoiled his own creation. The gold floor. Please, can we erase that? Any Cyberman worth his salt will have put the design fault to bed and they'd now be invincible from gold, surely. But a gold arrow that just touches them and then suddenly they keel over. I mean, surely an arrow from somebody in the Dark Ages. What's the point? The Cybermen are rubbish. So basically, the story to me, I didn't know what the hell was going on. So if I'm going to criticize, possibly, season 2 writers, I listened to what I'm saying about Silver Nemesis. I thought it was a pile of crap. I really did. I didn't see what the point was of it, apart from it's the 25th anniversary and we've made very silver Cybermen. None of this made sense. Does anyone have a clue in the thread or on the panel what this story means?
No, he does the same trick as what he done with the Daleks in Remembrance. There we go. Sorted. Done.
Yes. Because any script editor, Ryan, should have really said Remembrance of the Daleks, and then straight after Happiness this. It was the same plot device done twice. And as I said on my stream the other day, he's like a space womble. He's left clutter all over the universe. And he goes, oh, I need to sort out the Hand of Omega now. Hey, sorry, Ace, I know you wanted a holiday, but we just need to go to this garage because I left something here 2,000 years ago. Come on. No. I'm not buying it. Andrew Cartmel, go away. Rubbish. Sorry. No, rubbish. Everyone goes on about the Cartmel master plan. Not me. No.
This story is supposed to be set in November. So why is everybody in short sleeves?
Yeah, it was like a summer fete, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway,
I think the problem with it mainly is, like, if you took the Cybermen really out of the story, would there be much of a difference? It's more to do with the human characters, and the Cybermen are just kind of there,
It was, it's 25 years. That's silver. What's silver? Cybermen. Let's get the Cybermen and then let's build us. And yeah, I know it was naff. I never understood the Ace. Look, I was in my 20s, so clearly, you know, when you get a bit older, you get a bit funny about Doctor Who. McCoy era wasn't my era. That's a fact. Getting him to go darker later on was better. I agree with that. I wish Doctor Who would go darker now. But and I've met Sophie Aldred, lovely woman, and I've met Sylvester McCoy a few times, lovely man. But I don't get it. I just don't get that era at all. Does anyone have anything to say before we move on to season 2?
Is it more
Twin Dilemma's a bit like that, isn't it? It's sort of a bit weak. And Colin's my favourite Doctor.
Yeah. We've been on, and that's your objectivity, isn't it? That's been fair. If I'm going to possibly criticize anybody in the next few minutes, then I've got to show I will also criticize old Doctor Who writers as well. And I've mentioned Warrior's Gate as well. I mean, it might have great special effects. It might be very clever, but I didn't get it. Therefore, that's not good writing, surely, if I don't get it.
But does the novelization fill in the gaps?
Well, I can't remember, Jeremy. I did buy the book and I probably did read it, but I can't remember now. I think I understood the Tharrells a bit more. It didn't come through in the script. And I think in the book, I understood the Tharrells a bit more, but that was it. And I'm not dim, but well, maybe I am. It's just okay then. So credentials are set out there, folks. David Mullen, the Cyber Massacre and the Five Doctors went on to affect their treatment in every following appearance. I know it became a stunt, didn't it? It was a lovely stunt. I think this is a problem with the Doctor Who character, that when you big up the companion, because we're now in 2025, you diminish, therefore, the main character. And I think they've got to get the balance right. And David Mullen, I think your point is, while they made the Raston Warrior robot amazing, they then made the Cybermen rubbish. And that was the problem. You need to get the Cybermen back up. It is a problem. You've got to get the balance right. If you keep destroying your Cybermen too easily or your Daleks too easily, you've destroyed them.
But at the same time, you can't make them totally invincible either. Otherwise, you know.
Madge, I'd be tempted to. I know what you're saying, obviously, Jeremy, for the sake of a resolution, but I'd be tempted to push them a bit more that way. You know. Now, Brian is calling out. Oh no, Ryan, you're gonna have to get now. Brian comes on our channel as well, but we'll have to get you both on. There's a fight here. I got so sick of the CGI ships, explosions, rockets, the music. It's like they cared more about their bags of toys and what they could do properly with it.
I will just respond that CGI ships, there isn't any. They're all practical models. There is no CGI ships. So shut up.
I'm trying to think, is Brian meaning now, you know, in NUWHO? Because we have CGI now.
See if that wasn't aimed at me, I'm sorry.
Well, Brian will make it clear. He'll stick with us. But I don't know if he means NUWHO or he means that particular story. It's hard to tell at the moment. He'll tell us.
Brands and Rands are meant to stick together here, you know.
The thing about today, though, if somebody's watching something like that, they just say, "Oh, it's all CGI'd anyway," you know. So they won't know whether somebody actually made a physical model or whether it is just CGI.
I did like some of the effects, I have to say, in Silver Nemesis. I'm not just saying that because Ryan's there, because they did improve it. They really did improve it. Kevin Clark admitted that he hadn't even watched much Doctor. Well, right, here we go. Okay. I didn't know that, but this pulls us into the game. I'm going to shut up a minute and let the panel have a go with the season 2. Kevin Clark admitted that he hadn't even watched much Doctor Who before writing the script and developed. The script was rushed into production, and as a result, many elements were underdeveloped. Isn't that the point? That it's too complex a program, and sci-fi is a hard genre. Add those two together, you need experienced writers. And I really don't think it's an apprenticeship ground. I really don't. So that's me saying an awful lot, and I've got a panel on to talk this, so I'm going to shut my face, and I'm going to just go through our Silver Nemesis I've just discussed, and then say, right, okay, so is Doctor Who a write-off? And you can see my word pun because I'm talking about the writers who have been selected, and obviously the main writer, Rtd. So let's get going with this one. Now, you were waving 2 books in the air earlier, Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming because there's a blank here from my box of tricks from earlier. I
Yeah.
think it must mean Juno Dawson is doing season 2, episode 6.
It's
Because
gotta be, yeah.
yeah. So just so everybody can see where the gap is there. Now,
They've
think-
kept that quiet, haven't they?
they have.
Yeah.
Now Gary Lee has put loads of posts out. A lot of us follow Gary Lee. Sometimes it's very political. Sometimes it's it's various, and that's fair enough. Now this one, little known season 15 writer in NUWHO Elms, turns out to be a Free Palestine, Hamas supporting. Dresses like that. Now, I don't know, of course, but it is a problem. This, isn't it? When politics. Look, I'm not doing a political debate here. What my issue is if you get extremely political, surely that stops you from getting certain jobs on certain programs. Not all of them. If you're going to do Doctor Who, I would have thought in the past, if you're too political, they'll go, oh, we don't want that. That's too controversial. So if we have somebody who might have, if those views are correct, that Gary Lee says, the BBC might say, we don't want to touch that. But it seems now, maybe not. Juno Dawson, obviously, we'll talk about as well, has opinions on things. It seems to me at the moment, RTD and everybody seems to have very strong opinions, and that seems to be okay. But other people, if they have strong opinions, and I'm going to name, Jeremy, 2 writers of Doctor Who, Rob Shearman and Gareth Roberts. They've both written for Doctor Who. Where are they? Because they know how to write a Doctor Who script for TV, and they were good ones. But they are not being asked by RTD to come back. But we are asking for season 2 writers who've never written sci-fi on TV.
Yeah, that is part of the problem, I think. But again, as I said, that J&T didn't want Robert Holmes back on writing.
No, he didn't. No,
and they probably didn't want Terence Dicks back either. But it's a very difficult situation, and I think these new writers now tend to be more political in their writing and leanings, and more kind of political activists. Whereas in the old days, you probably wouldn't have had the established writers writing anything too political, and they wouldn't have put their views across in a very blatant way.
Are we being, Rachel, unfair to any of these writers? Because Robert Holmes, Terence Dicks, Malcolm Hulke, Johnny Byrne, as mentioned there, to keep a track. Any of the older writers, we didn't have Twitter. We didn't have online social media, so we couldn't pore over every little thing they ever said and then go, oh, look at them there. They got away with it in that way. However, in the world we're in now, we can find any little nugget of information. Do you think we're unfairly judging this current crop of writers, or do you think it's fair game?
Well, we can have a look at what they've written already, and we can make assumptions from what they've written already. But until we actually see what they've written for the show, we just don't know what's going to happen, do we? For all we know, they've gone through and edited the heck out of these scripts so that it doesn't come across that way.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yeah, it's going to be whatever we see at the end of it. I reckon they've kept a certain writer quiet because Juno's done the scripted podcast or something. She's been involved in something like that. Redacted. So I think they've kept that quiet, but also because this would be the most controversial one of the 4.
It did very well, didn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. So I want to bring in a few things here. Sean Cryer and Rtd'S Dawson in particular, who are dangerously close to the line. No, we're definitely not being unfair. Now, Sean, I'm saying it rhetorically because I want to fairly set up the debate. So before we go into each writer and what we think, because it is only speculation, as you say, the proof is in the eating. However, I think you can add 2 and 2 and get close to 4 in some respects. RTD is a political writer at the moment, and he's an angry man against certain types of politics. And he's shown that in the program. Fact, yeah, fact. He has now appointed some writers who do not have a hinterland in sci-fi. So that makes me ask, well, you know, what are they good at then? They seem to be good at the culture war bit. They seem to be good at the other aspect of what's been talked about now. The RTD's been doing off his own bat anyway. We've just mentioned the Star Beast. So it seems to me we might be getting a lot more of the same. And it then falls into place, Ryan, why maybe he thought for the next 2 seasons it was all going to be fantasy hocus pocus, because then an inexperienced science fiction writer could write anything.
Pretty much. Like, I feel like at the moment, Russell T Davies would rather make anything other than Doctor Who, because that's the way that he's acting. And the problem now with having season 1 and season 2, they were filmed practically back to back.
Yeah.
There wasn't any time. So if anybody had any issues or quarrels with season 1, they're not going to be corrected in season 2.
Yeah.
So even if we do get a season 3, if anything is going to change, we will not see that until season 3, which is, as we all know, very much up in the air at the minute. And I would say it's more one way than the other, because if we were getting a 3rd season, it probably would have been announced by now.
Mm.
We've got David Harden here. Doctor Who stories should punch up, not down, and not across. The Doctor going after the political class for corruption or crimes or big business for the same sort of thing is fair game. He was anti-establishment. We know that. He would have a go at the military sometimes. And as Anthony Green says, Malcolm Hulke was a renowned communist. And by the way, can I say another thing? Some of the old Doctor Who writers, the classic writers, and Malcolm Hulke's included in that, they weren't science fiction writers. They were television writers. They did Crossroads. They did The Avengers. They did Prisoner. But they were very, very experienced. They could turn a script around, a 10-episode War Games in 2 weeks. They really could do it. And my concern is, where's that experience of writing gone? Because I thought, am I being foolish, panel, that when Doctor Who upped the stakes with a massive budget, I thought we'd then be able to get top-notch writers.
Writing books, sorry, just following my own thought path here. Writing books is a very, very different game to writing a script and structuring a script and understanding how scripts and storytelling works within a script. It's very, very different. Because, you know, in a book, you've got the prose, you can use your description, but in a film setting, you've only got the TV directions.
Yeah.
You know, and the visuals, and that's it. You can't see into the character's mind. You can't do any of that. It's a different ball game.
Well, I'm getting told off. I'm quite right. Hunter Callan, you keep me right. Don't compare Malcolm Hulke to these writers.
Oh, Malcolm Hulke's in a completely different league. And our friend Michael would certainly be happy that I said that.
Yes, Michael Herbert. He's as you know, he's on a lot, and we had him on recently again. And of course, he talks about in his new book that's coming out around March, April. So yes, I don't want to get too toxic there, but let's get the evidence on the table. So Juno, Dawson, and Rachel's going to be hopefully a little bit helpful here because she's just started looking at some of the stuff. This book is gay, then a novel Clean, then another novel called Meat Market. And as they're saying, we can't argue with this bit, a prolific author of books for young adults, okay? Now, I also see the word prolific sometimes as mean you've written a lot. It doesn't mean it's quality. Quantity over quality is sometimes what prolific means. Midst of a hurricane of transphobia of what she's faced. Now, I just wanted to show you this because obviously as we learn more, I think you can learn a few things speculatively about what Juno Dawson answered when she was talking about her adult novel, Her Majesty's Royal Coven, right? So now, what are your favorite LGBT books? Now, obviously, she was led there. So she said Orlando, Two Boys Kissing, Tales of the City. So, right, whatever. Not read any of them, I'll be honest with you. I'm an English teacher, but I haven't done that for Virginia Woolf, I'll be honest. What did you read? Now, I found this really interesting panel because what's her hinterland? So what have you read? What are you interested in before you write Doctor Who? So she said, when it was the pandemic and we're all at home bored rigid, I massively got into non-fiction. I loved Empire of Pain, The Five, The Heroine with 1,001 Faces, none of this is sci-fi, and Men Who Hate Women. I also would recommend Witches by... So basically, all I'm saying is, so what's got RTD to pick you as a writer? Because you don't read sci-fi, you don't write sci-fi, you haven't written any television scripts, and this is a global streaming Doctor Who show. I can't see what the evidence is.
Maybe it's not a science fiction story.
I would say, I don't know if Juno's actually written any science fiction, but let me just find it. Juno said that they've watched Doctor Who since they were a child with their nan, I think it was, and always aspired to be like Perry. So I think that's probably it. That's where it comes from. So, you know, a child fan of the show, teenage fan of the show. So, yeah, I think that's probably just it.
And we're going to be fair, and I appreciate the thread helping here, because I can't remember everything. But yes, Greg Smith says, Robert Banks Stewart wasn't a sci-fi writer, but wrote two of the best, Terror of the Zygons and Seeds of Doom. I agree with you, and I wasn't trying to make that point about Malcolm Hulke and that. You don't have to be a sci-fi writer. I would argue you need to be an experienced television writer. Now on this one, there's just some nice nuggets here to get us to learn what is maybe coming downstream. Now this might cheer people up. What could the industry be doing to support trans authors in the community and Now, what Juno Dawson says here, now you see all those streamers who are trying to bait you and say several things about Juno, but here I'm being fair. She says, I also think it's a great thing that I've been able to write Doctor Who, for instance, without even mentioning the word trans. Yeah? I think the next step for any marginalized writer is to be able to write stories that don't center our trauma for a mainstream audience, with more to offer than that. Now, I just want to balance it up, because everybody's gunning. We all know, I'm seeing it myself. You know, everyone's going, Juno Dawson wrote that. She wrote about some sordid fetish. You know, I know, we've all read it. But I'm trying to actually open up the debate a bit more. Within a discussion, she's pleased she's being picked for Doctor Who, and she says, without even mentioning trans. Now, I can take that two ways, Ryan, that she's saying, when I got the job, they didn't say we've picked you because you're trans, or they don't want trans in the script. I'm going
to sort of tiptoe around this particular subject a little bit. As whenever it comes to this kind of thing, I'm very much just in the camp of, can we just make a really great show that covers basically a demographic of everybody? There should be something for everybody, and that's why I think Doctor Who has attracted so many fans of all different sexes, races, whatever, all over the years, because it was very much a show that welcomed everybody into it. Nowadays, I very much feel like if you are a particular demographic, the show is more sort of pointing the finger at you, maybe, you know. That's just my personal opinion. But I would say, and that's what we were talking about, you know, political sci-fi. Well, sci-fi is a very political genre. It always has been.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having politics in sci-fi or in respect Doctor Who, because there always has been politics in Doctor Who. But going back again to what I said earlier on, there's a very, very big difference between something that is very, very well written and something that is literally slapping you in the face and going, if you don't agree with this particular opinion, you're wrong, which is completely the wrong way to go around things, in my opinion.
Yeah, because some of the inclusive writing that apparently has been written nowadays, what some would call preachy writing, it's not inclusive, it's divisive and excludes.
Yeah. it's writing for a minority,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to write for the majority, not necessarily all the time for a minority.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what you need when you right. I'm not a minority. In so many ways, I've never felt like a minority. I felt like an outsider with Doctor Who, but that's a different ball game. But my argument is, we're all outsiders in different ways, and I have to say, I was never part of a tribe. I mean, what sort of tribes are there? There's no such thing as a community. I wish there was community, but I think that's an old nostalgic term about some 1950s. You know, that Britain once had a community. Can we just get back to basics? We're all ourselves, aren't we?
That's correct.
And I think Doctor Who was one of those great umbrella programs in the past where whoever we were, and we were all different, we all found something different in the program and to access because it was universal. And it's because it didn't name everything and it didn't label everything. It just had this mysterious figure who wasn't even one of us, who happened to have a companion from Earth, but they were mostly women, and I'm a man, so I did not feel represented, and I didn't care. You know, honestly, and actually, when we did have a male, Adric, Harry, Turlough, I mean, I liked Harry, but I didn't need a male to represent me. And how did Turlough represent me? I mean, I'm a working class lad from Middlesbrough. He was a prep school lad, but in the end, he was an alien. A load of nonsense. How did Adric represent me? He was from Alzarius.
Yeah, the only representation was the Doctor, because we wanted to be the Doctor, and that was it.
That's why we often get a female companion.
Yeah.
The way I would always put it, and as I understand that people completely disagree with me here, especially, you know, classic Who and stuff, I always loved the fact, I always compared in that respect the Doctor to James Bond, and every guy wants to be him, and every woman wants to run away and do something with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's sort of how that's how I think it pulled in, you know, such a diverse audience. And even as well, Doctor Who should be very much a program for anybody from 6, 7, 8 years old up to 75, you know. And you have elements there, and well, up until recently, there's always been elements there for the entire family to enjoy. The mum's happy because her kids are being quiet while there's fun monsters and things happening on the TV. Dad's happy because he's usually got a bit of eye candy to look at, you know. And that's and I'm just being real, you know. Like, all that, I'm just being real with it. That's what made the show. Like, let's face it, like a lot of dads would have been watching Colin Baker's era for Perry. Let's just be honest, it's true. You know?
Yeah. And Anthony Green, you bring out a good point here. A good science fiction writer could write an Israel-Palestine conflict in space or on a far-off planet. We've had Warriors of the Deep, which, let's face it, was the Russian bloc, Soviet bloc versus the American bloc, the West. Frontier in Space was kind of been doing a bit of that. Colony in Space was doing various things. Curse of Peladon was a... Sci-fi is famous because you take a hypothesis from this planet and you protect yourself, because some of these science fiction writers were writing in countries where if they oppose the government, they would be arrested. So basically, you write your critique of the government and put it in space, and nobody can have you. And that's what science fiction should be doing. And I agree with you, Anthony Green. You could do that.
Yeah. You don't even have to mention it by name.
No. Analogies, they're called, aren't they? Allegories. Look at Animal Farm, you know?
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, you just don't name it. I mean, at what point do the name... Yeah, you know who Snowball is. You know who Squealer is. Mm-hmm. You know who Napoleon is. You can recognize the traits. It's all there. And I think that's good sci-fi. So, Simon, you're back. He was a bit angry with us all earlier, or the thread. I don't know which one it was, Simon.
A bit hangry.
But it's hard, isn't it? You know, I can't talk in a monologue for 2 hours. Neither can any of the panel. So therefore, we miss out some nuance now and again, because you have to just keep talking. That's the thing of it. So sometimes you might sound a bit harder or more absolute. I don't know. Joe, all inclusive was Doctor Who. We are here. We here are different, all of us, different sexualities, politics, personalities, and sexes. And we are here passionate about this. That's the proof. And the thing is, Joe, why is the present program wanting us to almost look at each other and finger point at each other rather than us just all sit in a room like at the BFI? I wish I had the money to do that, and sit there and just all watch en masse Doctor Who and not go, this program's for me. And then somebody else sat next to me go, no, it's for me. And then somebody sat behind me going, no, it's speaking to me. And you're thinking, oh, for God's sake, I'll sit at home.
It's because they're making a point of, and they use Millie Gibson to do it, addressing controversial issues. So it puts everyone on a sort of like heightened tense alert.
Do you know what?
No reason.
I don't think they're dealing with controversial issues. I think they're dealing with issues controversially.
It's kind of the other way around, isn't it? We're just going to throw this in because this is a controversial issue. Say it and then just get on with the story.
I think that's their game.
Well, it gets people talking about it anyway.
Yes,
it does. And the thing is, and that's why I've tried to make sure tonight, I've got season 7 mentioned. We had some colorized photographs and various things and Silver Nemesis, because I'm trying to say we're Doctor Who fans and we're here to talk Doctor Who, but RTD seems to keep moving the goalposts to somewhere else. So Juno Dawson here, who we're all trying to discover. I'm not here to persecute Juno Dawson. That is a fact. And I'm going to put that on this stream. I'm not. I want to know. I want to know why these writers have all been picked. As I would always. I always ask that about Andrew Smith and Full Circle. It's the same question. He was a young lad and he wrote Full Circle. And I want to know how he managed to get through. How did that happen? So I've got the same questions. So anyway, here, Juno Dawson is saying, I wonder if it's because women will always feel like misfit outsiders in a world designed for men. Misogyny is timeless. And however we look, whether we're trans or cisgender, we will all experience that disgust, that loathing coming from some men. And I think gay men understand that too. Now, I can see the thread was getting angry a while back, and it's because we've got the issue. As soon as we've got the LGBT argument coming into Doctor Who, you can't have everybody happy. Let's be honest. So, for example, I'm going to bring in Rachael in a minute, because Rachael, as a woman, not representing every woman, she's representing herself. But the point is, it's a hard one, this. Misogyny, I mean,
Well, define it now, I guess you could say. I mean, we have equal rights to men. Yeah, we do experience it sometimes, but it wouldn't have been like it would have been like over 100 years ago, right? So, Juno's experience as living life as a trans woman is telling me that perhaps she needs to sort of like sit back and take a more of a wider look. Transplaining, basically.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm going to tiptoe around only because I want to be careful.
I don't think the world is as misogynistic, people make it out to be, but
it is a hard one because
it is too difficult.
As a gay person, as a woman, as a straight man, everybody's involved in this. So if the argument on trans in Doctor Who starts to get a bit divisive, like I'm a female presenting Time Lord and therefore I'm better than a male one, my back's up.
Mine too.
You've got me angry now. You didn't make a point in the dialogue saying we're all good and equal. You actually said that a female Time Lord is better than a man.
I experienced more misogyny living in Japan than I did here. I just put it like that.
Because of a kind of more conservative mindset.
Yes.
The culture,
absolutely.
isn't it? It's Japanese culture.
Very much so.
Now
women are the baby making machines in Japan, essentially. Yeah.
Now I know Joe Chapman has been saying, and Joe, you're writing to me, aren't you? Are you coming on? This is a male outlook of what he thinks women are, and we have all seen the post, haven't we? That he has unfortunately got some hostages to fortune, where some of his quotes are making the role of women, never mind traditional, but it sounds objectified. It sounds as though. And it also sex, I mean, he's done a sex education manual for kids, fine. in some ways it is fine. However, some of what's in it, I don't think even adults need to know. You know, and to be honest, some of the stuff that's listed is fetish. It's not sex. It's actually it's not about love and relationships or anything. It's just, now I'm assuming RTD is going to be all over the script like a rash, and it's going to have to be extremely appropriate content.
Of course.
But again, I'm asking the question, are there no other writers out there in Waterstones who write sci-fi who we can have? And you know, we were saying this on Friday, Rachel.
Yeah.
Well, the only way you're going to get new writers is if you have a writers forum, or you invite people to write scripts and stories, whether they're professional writers or not.
Yeah,
you're going to get a new influx of, you're going to get a selection of scripts. Some you won't be able to use, some you will be able to use, or you might even be able to use some of the ideas that have been, written in the scripts.
So we've got here, why did you pick on witches for your adult novel? And Juno Dawson said, marginalized groups are always scapegoats. The world is literally on fire. God, it sounds like RTD saying we're living in dark times. And many of them would rather run scary stories about secret trans cabals, brainwashing kids and the like, having to endure this media persecution, hence why we're doing the witches and all the rest of it. I just wanted to give Juno Dawson something there because it's not a play on, but we're learning more about Juno than we are in NUWHO. And the other writer who's written an awful lot, like Noughts and Crosses behind the scenes with Mallory Blackman in the adaptation. They've all done writing. It's just, I mean, come on, Waterstones. You can go to a Waterstones in London. It could be about 5 floors. There are a lot of books out there. There are a lot of writers. My question comes back to, why those 3? Why those 3?
I don't know enough about the other 2. I know more about Juno than I do the other 2.
Do you think it's a fair guess, panel, that where we're going, and this might be it, so I'm not shooting down the writers, but I think our guesses are probably correct. But basically, Doctor Who is moving and pivoting quite away from anything we really do recognize. And it's less about the timey-wimey space adventure, and it's more about the personal growth and journey now. And that's where we're going.
Without a doubt, definitely.
So we've all got a decision to make. I'm guessing then that if we're right, is that what we want to watch?
No. Well, I checked out a while ago.
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing is not Doctor Who. I'm seeing something completely different.
It's unrecognizable at the moment.
Yeah.
The concepts are there, but it's just not being executed very well.
I mean, I don't care whether this person is trans or whatever.
Same.
As long as the script is fantastic or good, at the very least.
Is this looking like season 2 Doctor Who, what that we want? We've got little bits of information. We've seen a few photographs. We've now got the list of the writers, so we can start to add a few things together. Now, Peter McTighe, I'm trying to think if there was a really good story he wrote. There's a few, the Kablam and that. Joy to the World, we've just had that. The Robot Revolution, well, I do like a robot story, but again, it's written by RTD, so it might go a little bit silly. Lux, 5 Miles Deep, Lucky Day, and The Control Room. Is there anything that you're hoping upon hope is going to be good?
Lux, wasn't that a soap?
Well, I know. Yes.
Yes.
It was a soap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Is there anything enticing you in? Anything?
I thought actually it was Flux when I looked at it quickly. I thought, not Flux again.
Anything there, Ryan, that is grabbing your eye?
No. The only thing that has grabbed my eye at the minute is my dinner, which I probably am going to go in a minute and actually meet, to be quite honest.
I've had mine. It was very nice.
But no, as I said, like I accept it the same way I have with other franchises that I adore. There is a big chunk of it that I adore, and I will always love and adore. Like Doctor Who is very much, I live and breathe Doctor Who. It very much is my essence. So much of my personality is because of that bloody show. But same as Star Wars, there's a chunk of it I love. The chunk of it I grew up with and adored. Same with Doctor Who. It's just not made for me anymore. And going like it is unrecognizable. Even like Jodie's era wasn't great, but it was still recognizable as the same show. It's gotten to the point now where it doesn't feel like it is. It's unrecognizable, as you said. That's sort of my 2 cents on it, I suppose.
Well, I was texting earlier and talking to various people. Now, Julian, I want to put this on screen, and I want to, because Julian, the writers shouldn't be the focus here. So I am asking the question. I've made an editorial decision to talk about the writers, as well as the merchandise not being made, as well as season 7 being outsold, as well as quite a lot on Doctor Who. So I've made the editorial decision, and I've made the editorial decision because I don't think I'm naive. In 2025, the choice of writers by a very political showrunner tells me everything. And in the old days, whether Barry Letts picked Malcolm Hulke or Brian Hales was by the by. I really do think that in 2025, the people RTD selects from a massive pool of writers on a shorter series tells us a lot more.
Just a point. Talking about say 50 years ago, we weren't really interested in who the writers were.
No,
Could have been any old Tom, Dick, or Harry. As long as the stories were good. But now, obviously, as the years gone on, we've got the internet. We've got more access to the information about the writers, who are the best writers, and the background to these writers. So yeah, we do want that information. We do want to know where the writers are coming from, particularly in this day and age.
And people are very interested in how things come about and they get constructed.
yes.
We've got that access that we've got that now that we didn't have back in the 60s or anything like that.
But I mean, but for the casual viewer, when the credits are rolling up as fast as possible, even if they manage to see one name, they're not interested. They don't know who the makeup artist is, or the lighting, or the director is, or even the producer. Sometimes.
The other question is, I've just spent, like I say, 3 decades in teaching. Aren't we all wanting a more critical audience, a more savvy audience, not a passive audience? Yes, maybe in the 70s we all just sat there passively.
Yeah.
But surely education means that we now have an audience who asks questions. And surely that's a good thing. The question is whether RTD's got any valid answers. That's the issue. I don't think me asking questions is the problem. I think the problem is, does he have any valid answers about meritocracy?
And also, it gives us a chance to question everything if we want to. Leaves it open.
The problem is not the question. The real problem is getting the answer.
Yeah, true.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll have to wait a while. Or
And
we'll
that
have
includes politics in particular.
Yeah. Now,
Well, what I would say is what's been the biggest complaint about Doctor Who the past 10 years is the writing. The writing is fix the writing. Just off, assumption, it doesn't look like they're going to be fixing that anytime soon.
Yeah.
No, and just to add to your point, Ryan, I'm glad you just said it then, because it nearly went out of my head because it's old. We had some new writers to Doctor Who last year, and they did Rogue. That's why, Julian, I'm asking these questions, because yes, new blood is good, and a good program in longevity does that. But as somebody in the thread the other day said, Brendan, Silent Witness has done about 25 series, and it's still top notch, and it's still there. And they may have DEI in the cast if you want to go down that kind of side alley. But the point is, the scripts are still good. It still does what it says on the tin. It's still about autopsies. It's still about that sort of crime stuff. And everybody still tunes in. Why has Doctor Who veered to the left? Why is it gone up?
Getting drama writers in.
Yeah.
Experienced drama writers.
Yeah.
I mean, if Rogue was written 30 years ago, it wouldn't have been commissioned.
No, it wouldn't have.
No. Now, Hasler Scott, I've had him on screen here, but this is what happens when you get a bunch of loudmouths forcing the pendulum. People are so sick of it. What used to be an acceptable amount of woke, and I know that's a pejorative term, but we're doing it for shortcut. We're not doing a lecture on what woke is defined as, but we all kind of get a gist of it. But now, as he says, what used to be an acceptable amount of woke gets the channel changed immediately. There's too much of an argument going on TV programs that don't need to be. Julian, there will never be a meritocracy because there's too much nepotism. And Julian, I understand. I'm a working class lad from Middlesbrough. The chances of me getting in the BBC were like that much. Having said that, Steph McGovern from Middlesbrough did get onto BBC News. She's not on it now, notice. She had to go to Channel 4. Look, it does happen. It's rare. You need to normally, you've gone to Oxbridge, you normally need to have a family network. I understand that, Julian, but I will still ask the question. And actually, RTD wasn't part of that network.
What if you think about it, like one of the biggest pioneers behind the watershed, Mary Whitehouse. If she were alive today, what would she be saying now?
Oh, she'd be going, RTD, you've regenerated from me into you. As I said in one of my saloons, RTD is the new regeneration of Mary Whitehouse because he senses it. The sonic screwdriver is an evil weapon. You know, Davros is a nightmare. You know, he's turned into Mary Whitehouse, RTD.
Yeah, and she'd be questioning the writers as well.
Oh, I think so with her conservative values.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
Now, Paul Richards here, he's got an interesting point for you here. We never discussed the prejudice of body fascism in Doctor Who. The fact that they've made the Doctor a good-looking flirt rather than a hero with a difference, an odd-looking eccentric type. Yeah, I don't want to call out the old actors, but they all had quirky faces, etc. Eyes, noses, chins, whatever.
They had character.
Yeah, and like Ncuti you can't deny it, he's a good-looking guy, right?
Yeah.
And then they put them in the posters and they airbrush him on top of that, and it just looks very strange. And that's not me snotting on Ncuti.
It was almost the problem Peter Davison had. Remember when Peter Davison came in? He was the youngest Doctor.
Yeah.
And you know when they wanted to do the target books, and all the artists said it was very hard to draw him properly because he's got a younger skin, and obviously wrinkles are good to draw and then define them. You know, I mean, the Three Doctors front cover, for example, is a brilliant front cover. Those three old faces. But when you saw Peter Davison, in the end, they went for the photograph, didn't they? Because they really couldn't capture him. And he had to really prove himself because he was that younger, slightly seemed to be blander Doctor, seemed to be. And they have to fight a lot harder. But when you've got a good looking lead and physically, you know, he looks after himself. So physically, aesthetically, and then on top of that, he flirts. I find that a bore. Do you know what I mean? They're not outsiders, they're insiders because they were born good looking. They'll look good. They're going to get every girl or lad or whoever they want to get in the playground. It's us lot who are the outsiders. And so what they've turned Doctor Who is now the school captain of the rugby team. He's now the popular one. That was never Doctor Who. He was the geeky weirdo one. And that's what I think has been a misstep. Nothing against Ncuti and nothing against skin colour. It's about, because he was a male model, you've just got the wrong vibe about the Doctor. It's just the wrong way around. You know, and so I think that's
a quirky face in the nicest possible way is better for the Doctor.
Yes. And Rachael, aren't they called character actors?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I never knew if that was a euphemism saying they weren't good looking. You're a character actor. You've got a voice for radio. Yeah. And you've got a face for radio. Yeah.
Sylvester McCoy is a character actor.
Go on, Ryan.
I was just going to say, I'm going to have to love these and leave these, unfortunately, but it's been lovely joining you this evening.
That's all right. You know, I'll text you about this, that, and the other. But thanks for coming on. We'll just chew the cud here a bit more.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Take care,
later, Ryan.
Take care.
See you later, Ryan. Bye.
Bye.
So that was a really good point from Paul Richards then, and I appreciate that because it adds. yeah, it adds to the debate, doesn't it? It's really interesting. I was crying watching a reaction video to parts 3 and 4 of Caves of Rtd'S yesterday, said SG. My God, I know. This is when, oh God,
Good story.
it could be so engaging, Doctor Who. It's such a brilliant format.
Peter Davison's, well, I say it's Peter Davison's best story for a lot of people. Mine's Enlightenment, but yeah,
I think
it's
it was
a good story.
It was his best story because I think he put a lot of acting into it.
Yeah.
And
it was a big swan song.
And whether the producer pushed him more, a bit more as well.
Good, yeah.
I mean, the director, Graham Harper.
Yeah.
Boomer Doug, I know it's Australia, so you may have missed at the beginning. It was announced I was going to be the new showrunner of Doctor Who because I seem to maybe know what I'm talking about. So yes, maybe hire a geeky weirdo as the new actor. We're on the money. So X-Man's asking what's happened to the super chats. I think it's called Brendan. By making so many streams, forgot to verify his monetization. So basically, I'm waiting for a letter to come in the post. So
they'll come back. The letter takes a bit of a while.
Yeah. So basically, to X-Man, you're getting me for free. You can ask me any question for free. So thread, liven up, make the most of it. Because when the letter comes, it'll be £50. No, what? But yeah. It's because I ballsed it up. That's why.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to admit that. No, it's just you missed the time slot, didn't you?
I missed the time slot. I was streaming like hell. Yeah. I mean, I was streaming like a good one, but I forgot to verify.
He's still got his subscribers and his watch hours. He's just waiting for the next bit to come through. Yeah, he'll be back on soon.
The Rtd'S, that's what I want. But yeah, not that I ever saw any Rtd'S. Peter Davison, Paul Richards. Peter Davison was good looking, but he had a mature voice and didn't flirt with anyone. It wasn't about his looks. Paul, he was never going to pull anyone with cricket pajamas on.
And his doctor could be quite snappy.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
I quite liked it when he put them specs on and he got a bit. I did. I really, and I know they joked about it in Time Crash.
William Hartnell thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I
little tribute to
I mean, right, you're showrunner for the day, Jeremy. What is there an actor out there you think that's who we should be picking? Because I've seen the thread mention Richard. Is it Iola? You know who he is. He's a comic actor, can be.
What, to play Doctor Who?
Crowd. Who would you pick as the next Doctor actor, which would get you back to where we think we're supposed to be?
Michael Sheen, in an instant.
Oh, okay.
Would you?
Yep, without a doubt. Because one, he's worked with David Tennant, and in that popular program, what was it? I can't remember.
Good Omens.
Omens.
Yeah.
I never watched it.
No,
but, I've seen Michael Sheen in a few things, and I thought, oh, this is a good actor.
Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking for a second. Rachael, with your background, who do you think would be an interesting but kind of good default doctor?
Me.
Yeah. Oh no, we're not having any more female doctors. Oh God.
No. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Create something new for the ladies. Oh, that is a very good question. I don't really know is an answer to that, but I know an actress that I would like to see in the show, and that's Helena Bonham Carter. I don't think she'd do it.
She was interested
in it.
Yeah, I've gone on a journey with her because in a way I didn't like her in the early days, but I quite liked her in Nolly. And that was an RTD production, but I liked what she did in Nolly. So yeah, I know what you mean. And she's been quite quirky in adverts and everything, and I can see how she could. Yeah, I think that's why sometimes people said Tilda Swinton, didn't they? Because she has that otherworldliness almost, which is what Tom Baker had.
What about Benedict Cumberbatch?
I'm going to say no because of his Sherlock fame. Now, Peter Davison had a fame with lots of things, but so I'm being inconsistent in a way, but I think he's so famous from another brand. Is it tricky to push him into another? I don't know.
One, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that was just a name I was throwing around. Yeah.
I mean, good.
And I have a preference
And he's not naturally good looking in the normal way, is he?
No.
Now, David Mullen here, mind you, is Mam. Wow, well, that's a different story. David Mullen, would any of these new writers have had to write a story offer, or were they hired blind? David Mullen, good question. I know in teaching, as I was leaving, and it's and everything, but I can only speak for my own job, can't I? But when everybody had to apply blind, and your names are anonymized, your gender is anonymized, there are certain things anonymized in your job application. So people couldn't bring their prejudices to it. That was called the civil service in the 2020s. So I wonder if at the BBC and Bad Wolf, RTD was applying the same. Because other than that, it looks as though he might have done a lucky dip of his friends. Because you remember, Jinx Monsoon wasn't auditioned. So it's a good question, David Mullen. I fear the answer.
What about a comedian actor?
Yeah, well,
You know,
that was why...
comedians are very good at acting.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yes, because look at John Pertwee. They picked him as a comic actor, and he went very serious.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was an interesting... And he... Yes, and we've all seen comedians in dramas, like Pauline Work, bless her. Did she play that prison one? And she was really... Oh, she was edgy. She was really good.
Patricia Routledge. I mean, she wouldn't play the Doctor. She's too old, but she's a good example of that. Very much used as a comedy actress, but could do the serious stuff as well.
Now we're getting some... Right, here we go. Here's the casting... Not the casting couch. I nearly went on the wrong place there. Oh, God. Put my flask away. Right. Kate Blanchett or Olivia Colman. Now, Julian, I'm noting two things from everybody. One, you're picking a certain gender, which is interesting because... You know my camp. I kind of want it back to male, but that's all right. Kate Blanchett and Olivia Colman. Now, what are your thoughts, panel?
If I were to do that, and if this was for a female doctor, so to speak, even though I would prefer it to stay as a man, I would say Olivia Colman. She's much more, I know she's done film, but she does have a good TV repertoire as well. And she has a versatile repertoire.
She's also done the trick that's happened with Capaldi and a few of them, like Colin Baker, that they've been in Doctor Who already. and underused.
Yes.
I would say no to any female actor playing the role.
Yeah. This is what I mean. Now, Chris, hello. Would you go there? Sean Pertwee?
No.
No.
What, because he's too much like his dad?
He looks very much like his dad. But also he said he wouldn't do it anyway. Yeah,
bless him. I mean, he's an actor. And he's a bloody good actor, and he's got a fantastic voice. But it gets me quite emotional when I think his respect for his dad is, I won't go there. And you think, oh, you don't have to, but he's got such respect for his dad, and it's lovely. Yeah. It's lovely.
I think they've got to go for a very popular actor. If they want to get the ratings, go for a popular actor and give it a whirl.
Yeah. Do you know Julian Barrett? Richard Brown calls that one out.
No, I don't watch much television now, so I don't keep up to date with what actors are about. You know.
Yeah, Richard Brown. Tell us what Richard. Tell us what Julian's in, because I'm a bit with Jeremy. I'm YouTubing a lot. I don't mean me. I mean sometimes I'm watching other YouTubes, so it's like. Patterson Joseph, he's normally mentioned quite a lot, isn't he? He's been mentioned since 2005, but never picked. They're not sure.
It's usually a case if you're watching a film and you see an actor, you think, my God, they'd make a good Doctor Who, wouldn't they?
I always thought that about Rowan Atkinson, weirdly. I know he did that Little Children in Need one, but I always thought that about Rowan Atkinson. I know he probably wouldn't now, but... Back then, yeah.
Would you pick an Ewok?
Who? What? Eh? Oh, Warwick Davis. Sorry, my brain did not compute there.
I mean,
choice.
I haven't really seen him really acting in stuff. If you get my gist, I know what. I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah. Ben Whishaw, I really like, but he's been in such good. I don't know.
That would be a very interesting choice.
He's probably too big now, isn't he, Ben Whishaw? I would have thought, maybe.
And people just listen to him and go, oh, Paddington.
Yes. Paddington now runs the TARDIS. We've got Adrian Lester, yeah. He's been mentioned for quite a while. I know that. And people are saying Julian Barrett would be great, but I still don't know what he was in.
Someone's saying Henry Cavill. I think Henry Cavill's probably too big now.
And maybe too good looking with the same problem. We want a doctor that looks quirky. Sorry, I'm saying that as a showrunner, but you're all showrunners too. So Chris Marshall has been mentioned before. Oh, Julian Barrett was then in The Mighty Boosh.
Oh, okay.
That still doesn't help me.
I never watched that either.
Eddie Redmayne, does he fall into too good looking category again?
He's quite quirky, actually, I think, looks wise.
Okay.
But he's done a lot of films. He's worked for Warner Brothers.
He would be the first doctor with the most freckles.
He would be.
He was the most freckled doctor. Is that a thing? Eva Green. I don't know, I'm trying to think. So
I'm
yeah,
thinking of Ellen Green, but that's the wrong person.
Well, there you go. I mean, we are really trying to think this out now. What I want to say to everybody, just before I kind of forget myself, is at 11 tonight. I'm on again. I'm live tonight with my saloon. And that's my take on a few things recently said by RTD. It's quite specific. So if you want to tune in at 11 o'clock, I'll be on for about 20 minutes or so, live though, so you can obviously interact. It's my saloon live. I love that music. I'll be Time Agent Brendan at 11 o'clock. I just have to change like Superman. And yes, I'm on then. So just see us in a couple of hours once I've refreshed, darling, and I'll be back. So thanks, Gan. That was a tasty discussion, and it was also good to have Ryan on. Interesting, and I'll have him on. Don't worry, talking about what he did with the season 25 and the Rutan. Yes, he was involved in that. So I suppose it's time, Rachel. Never mind our week that was woke. What's going on your channel at the moment? Okay,
well, I recently uploaded The Power of the Daleks review that was voted by the subscribers. And then tomorrow we are covering all the Doctor Who news that I missed last week. That is including Joe Martin. See if I can find the Nielsen figures if they're out yet, and the writers. And then we'll have TikTok Tuesday and Woke Wednesday, like normal, pretty much. And hopefully keep it positive. Now I'm in my partial new setup. We'll be back soon as well. So business as usual. Let's just put it like that.
So walk Wednesday and then walk on Friday with us too.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely.
We'll be walked out.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
But that's, I mean, and we've enjoyed doing that, and it's been very popular. So please join us on Friday at 7. Jeremy, good to have you on again, of course. It's been great. Those books that you have every week are amazing. I mean, all these different, they're not run of the mill, are they?
I do a Portuguese one next time.
Yeah. Now, Rachel, I've got to give Rachel a few hours because I know what she's reading tonight in bed. Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
Oh my God. Are you reading them both at the same time? Are you cross-eyed?
That's what it feels like. No, I'm starting with This Book Is Gay because I want to know sort of like the context of how much, because I've seen it online, and I want to know. I want to know exactly how extreme the context is. And then I've got 2 more of Juno's books that are novels on order to see what the difference is between this and the other.
So. When you went into the library, did you say, I'm doing research? It's only for research.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just like, yeah, this is research. So yeah. This
is why it's good on our channel, and I do say that, but the same on Rachel's, which is it was the same with the cast report. We don't rant and we don't talk out of our backsides. We read it first.
Yeah. And I will give Juno a fair hearing. I won't be cruel or anything like that because there's no need for it. No. I'll just give it a fair hearing. And obviously, just because I've read these doesn't mean to say that I'm going to be well informed about what Juno will be writing for the TV show.
Yeah. So thank you both. And like somebody said, if you're still in your pajamas and want to, my Brendan's bedtime story to 11. But I'll be there. My God. Right. Okay, then. Thanks a lot, everybody. And remember, Talking TV live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Me and Doug are on, even if you're not tuning in tonight. So good night, everybody.
Ta-ta. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Subscribe.
Have I got more to say? Have I, Heck? Clear it